shared that he got this customized gun, which I guess in the gun world is like a big deal.
My
That like this
hydro
gun
ratchets and
company.
repeater bolts. These will do just fine. Thank you.
Now that we've done a service for the gnomes, it's time to do the goblins a favour. I hear that the goblin racer pilot, Nas Steamboil, didn't always use that name. I wonder why he changed it. I wonder if it's a secret, and I wonder if he values that secret. If anyone knows the truth, then it's Krazik of Booty Bay, on the southern tip of Stranglethorn. Speak with Krazik and ask him about our goblin pilot. If you can get useful information from him, then we might just turn a profit.
He made him a hot pink handgun.
See, this is a branding opportunity. They probably paid him $500,000 to take this gift.
Yeah, probably.
And if he showed up in not Jeffree Star mode, and he just showed up like, look, he looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. He's got his bathrobe on and his slippers. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
We made this pink gun for you and you show up like this?
Right.
How dare you? Well, I didn't want them to think I was unhinged. Look, I'm getting a gun. I got a beverage here, man.
And it's funny because, like, they're talking about this being conservative. When I know that they both know that, depending on the time period, you know, a very queer person with a pink gun that's like got like it has, you can't see it from the picture, but it has, I think, Jeffrey's like eyes on it or something. You know, it's like that would be like the most like queer stuff ever in, like, you know, the 1980s, or, you know, in like the right time period. That would not be conservative at all.
This is like the best scene for a movie where there's a very, very conservative character and somebody breaks into the house and he can't get his gun safe open. So there's only one gun in the house and it's like the pink Jeffree Star gun. And he's like morally conflicted. He's like, oh my God, I have the robbers I have to deal with.
And then
but I'm going to look like a putz with this pink gun.
Right. And as they're being conflicted, Jeffree Star comes up from behind and knocks him over the head with a Bud Light bottle.
Exactly.
I'm making them unconscious. There you go.
Exactly.
And they're like, ha, the pink gun gets him every time.
They steal the gun from him. Was Jeffree Star the one breaking in? That would be
no, no.
The gun company posted it to their Instagram, and there were thousands of comments being like, the gun world has gone to shit. You know, we're like caving to the woke mob and the fags and the this and the that. And it's like, wow, like Jeffree Star, as much as you're trying to appeal to these people, this is their reaction.
Guns have gone woke.
Well, you're right too, because they're assuming it. Like, why are they assuming Jeffree Star is doing the gun thing to try to appeal to the right, when it's more likely, as you said, Beretta's paying Jeffree Star to try to appeal to woke people or something?
Yeah, it's completely opposite.
Yeah.
And not only this idea that you can look at the comment section and think, okay, look, conservatives absolutely hate you. Why are you trying to appeal to them? I mean, some conservatives hate them. Some conservatives are, you know, some conservative women are probably going to buy a pink gun.
Right.
And that argument completely transposes to the left. Look, ContraPoints can't come out with a video with a bunch of people on the left hating her for everything, right? Nitpicking everything that she does. So, I mean, everyone's going to have their haters. It doesn't mean, you know, when there's a lot of haters that come out, look, all of these personalities on the left have been canceled 2 or 3 times by people on the left. Mm-hmm. Does it mean that their people on the left hate them for their identity?
Right.
I don't think that works.
So it says Jeffree Star has moved to Wyoming in 2020, and they bought a bunch of guns after that. And they said that 95% of their audience comments were positive, but Beretta saw some controversy Star said it ruffled a lot of feathers, likely old men and maybe Republicans who don't understand that I'm a free spirit. I mean, does that seem like you're really trying to like suck up to the right? If that's your comment on it, that doesn't track. Doesn't track to me.
Not really.
So,
Yeah.
right. Because I mean, like, so this is what this is, and this is funny because this actually goes completely into the queer aesthetic. Jeffrey Star says, "I love random stuff. I like fashion and makeup, but I also like pinball. I like things because they're not normal. I have a flamethrower from Elon Musk, The Boring Company. I have a gold-plated Russian AK-47. I like collecting badass things. People make guns and certain things seem scary, but it's so normal." So I mean, it's funny. Like, Jeffree Star is literally attracted to guns from a queer aesthetic purpose that they just don't understand because things have been politicized.
Right. Because they're different, unusual.
Is it true that the Beretta 92 is the gun of choice for Jack Stryker, Adam?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sad.
The wokest of assault weapons. So today, as you, the listener, may be able to tell from the title, we're going to be talking about queer conservatives. And that may sound incredibly niche. And a lot of times when I bring this topic up to people who are not as online as you or I probably are, they often are like, queer, like, you know, gay Republicans, trans Republicans, that doesn't make any sense. And I agree, but they do exist. And we're in a moment in time where I do feel like there is a genuine fracture among different political groups of queer people that is worth talking about. You know, we have these hashtags that are popping up lately, hashtag gay not queer, hashtag LGBT without the T. I almost said LGBT, LGB without the T. This group called Gays Against Groomers, which are just gay people whose entire political identity is furthering the kind of like groomer libel against us. And I do think it's worth talking about, not only because I disagree with who these people might vote for come election time, but I think the idea of a conservative queer person, like, there's a lot to learn there.
Well, can I say, I love that you say that when you bring up the topic of LGBT conservatives, people scoff at it. Like, that makes no sense. Yeah, it makes no sense because people don't make sense. Like, when has people's political behavior ever been universally rational? Like, never. I don't know. I really think awareness should be raised that this is a thing because it's
So it's a little annoying to me, and I hear people who will say like, yes, people are irrational actors and their political behavior makes no sense. But that only applies to people,
on the other hand.
yeah, but it only applies to people that vote on the right. For some reason, everyone on the left is like a rational actor behaving in a rational
I
fashion.
know.
And it's like, well, how does that work exactly? All
Look,
the
they
irrational-
the only difference is they understand the reasoning
Yes,
on the left. They don't understand the reasoning on the right.
right.
So it
Yeah.
appears irrational from that perspective.
Yes, people on the right look at the left and go, look at all these irrational, insane people
Right.
who have been guilted into voting for some awful thing.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you tell them that you scare them with the white privilege stick and look, they'll vote for anything.
Right.
That's rational.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people who are gay or trans who have right-wing moral foundations and right-wing moral intuitions that essentially guide them towards the Republican Party, but they're just gay and trans. And that's the only like thing that's different. And so that kind of puts them at this weird crossroads in terms of like, obviously the Republicans have been seen as, have been obviously, and still are, far less accepting of gay and trans stuff than the Democrats. But that doesn't get rid of those moral intuitions.
Right.
And a lot of these gay and trans conservatives, they basically what they want to do is they want to sort of bridge a divide where their moral intuitions can be satisfied. They can still be conservative, and yet, fight back against the like they. I think what's going on is they believe this would be my guess.
Seems Belgum
They
thinks
believe if
those
they
monsters
could
are-
just fight back against like the what they consider the insane queer stuff, then conservatives would accept gay and trans people, and then they'd be they wouldn't feel like they're a contradiction, or they wouldn't feel like they have conflicting moral intuitions with their identity. That'd be my guess is what's happening.
The gay conservative people are thinking that?
Yeah. If we could eliminate the like awful woke queer stuff, then conservatives would be accepting of like quote normal gay.
Yes,
and normal trans
I
people.
100% agree with you.
Yeah, right.
Their
And then, yeah.
perception is, I would like to think that is true, but I'm not sure that it is.
Well, like that it's happening, or that they would accept them.
That they would accept them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I've seen a lot of real homophobia on the right.
Well, I think there would be. I think it's true-ish, in terms of. I think there would be significantly more acceptance, and I think pre-wokeness, it definitely seemed like acceptance for gays on the right, obviously on the left, but on the right was increasing too. And it just definitely seemed like acceptance for gays were just increasing. And I do think wokeness has kind of done to the LGBT community the exact same thing it's done to the race relations. It's made everything worse, because it basically, for years and years and years, the right said, hey, we can't allow gay marriage. We can't allow gay people because at the end of the day, it's going to end with a bunch of weird stuff where they all want to bang children and do a bunch of creepy shit, right? That was always the argument.
Slippery slope, classic slippery slope argument, right?
Right. There's always a slippery slope argument. And people on the left or people that were in favor of gay rights would say, no.
We promise we won't overreach. Cross our heart.
Yeah, right. There won't be overreach. Right. And then
what happened?
Yeah, and so then what happened is you had a bunch of insane leftists who are in favor of destroying society, or in favor of destroying normativity, who usually are younger, so they have no they're incredibly privileged in that they have no conception of the culture war fights that basically got them the rights that they have. Right. And so they're willing to basically toss them to the wind to just say, yes, let's just go for broke. Let's just go to this insane place. And then all the right wingers at the point say, aha, see, we told you, slippery slope.
Yeah, they don't realize what they're risking. They really don't.
Yes, they don't.
It took a long time for gay people to be able to live out in the open.
Yes.
Not live in the closet, as they used to say.
Yeah.
And wokeness pretty much puts that all at stake. Look, I'm not in favor of those. I'm not in favor of gay rights being limited.
Yeah.
But
right.
I don't control society. I'm one person, right?
Right.
And I do fear a backlash that will prohibit a lot of gay rights. So, I mean, that's a possibility that I don't think people are aware of, or
I agree.
They don't think it could happen. They're kind of Pollyanna about.
I think what's important to think about is that I don't think slippery slope works the way people think it does, in terms of people tend to think of slippery slope like there's some intentional subversion by someone to try to get you to the extreme point, which, I mean, obviously there are people like that, right? There are obviously people that are doing that. We watched Hassan essentially saying that he's doing that for socialism. But I think broadly what happens is it's just a generational shift. You have the next generation come in. They were not alive or cognizant of the fight of the previous generation. They've grown up in some privileged time, accepting whatever rights they currently have as the gospel of reality. And so they're not really afraid to gamble and lose those rights because they've never experienced not having them.
Right. Yep.
It's actually not a niche thing. People think that it's a niche thing, but it's a lot of people. It's if you add up, it's probably a significant percentage of LGBT people are conservative. And there's a long history of it. They used to be called log cabin Republicans.
We're gonna get into the log cabin
Okay.
Republicans. They're not escaping us this hour.
But yeah, it's very common.
I don't know if you want to bring this up, Adam. Carl sent this to me. He wants you to know that the gun you used in Social Justice Detective is a Beretta. It's the same gun, or I don't know if I'm assuming, was yours a real gun or was it a fake gun?
It's a prop gun.
It's a prop gun. Your prop gun was the same model gun as Jeffree Star's pink gun.
Nice.
So there you go.
That's great.
There you go. Oh, whoops! I sent it to Dr. Diller for some reason by mistake. Well, there you go, Dr. Diller.
Well, now he knows too.
Now he knows too. Okay.
And like you say, it kind of, there's a million versions of it. It kind of exists at every level. And it does seem to overlap with this desire many queer people have to create a new dichotomy between the normals and the freaks.
Yes.
And so these days it's a lot of LGB without the T or drop the T, a lot of cis gay people trying to throw trans people under the bus, but the distinction gets like way more fine than that. Like, I mean, if just like within the lesbian community, you have like femmes trying to throw butches under the bus. You have like, I mean, like any version of this you can imagine exists.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're a queer person listening to this, you've probably witnessed it in some level. Like, I know within the gay male community, like the quote unquote like masculine gays do it to the feminine gays, where they're like, well, if you just tried to fit in a little harder, maybe you wouldn't be gay bashed. So the problem is actually you. And yeah, and gays doing it to trans people who pass doing it to trans people who don't pass, trans people doing it to non-binary people. And you know, it's not.
The problem is attitude, and it kind of annoys me because it's like when you say, hey lady, maybe you shouldn't walk outside wearing a dress so short that if you like the slightest of breeze, or if you have to like bend over even slightly, your ass and thong are hanging out and your tits are hanging out. And maybe it's not a good idea to walk outside in an unsafe area wearing this outfit, right? And they say, whoa,
you shame her.
Yeah, are you victim blaming me? And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that you're at fault if someone sexually assaults you. I'm just saying you shouldn't behave like if you're trying to avoid trouble, you shouldn't do that action. Like women don't go to parties and get blasted drunk.
How dare you, Sitch? How dare you? Society needs to bend over backwards.
Yeah, it's like okay, I'm not saying it's if you get blasted drunk and pass out, I'm not saying it's your fault if someone, sexually assaults you. But I'm just saying if you want to be, safe, if you want to take responsibility and try to increase your odds of safety, you shouldn't be engaged in these specific behaviors. If you're driving your car without a seatbelt, right, and someone else, and you're driving perfectly safe, someone else can still hit your car and make you die, right? You can still fly out your windshield, your door opens and you flies out because you're not wearing your seatbelt, your doors are unlocked, you fly out of the car, right, and die. Like, and you're like, well, are you victim blaming me? It's like, well, I mean, it wasn't your fault that someone crashed into you, but people need to take precautions in their life.
Yeah, it's weird because obviously you're having to tiptoe all around this topic just so people can't throw an accusation of victim blaming at you.
Well, no, there's a difference between victim blaming is saying you were asking for it or you deserved it, as opposed to saying, well, no, I'm not saying that, but you should still teach.
People are asking for it, though. They don't deserve it. I'm not going to go that far. But I mean, look, if you get blasted drunk and pass out in the street, like in a bad neighborhood, and you're literally going to stay there all night long, like at some point you got to say that wouldn't have happened if you didn't do that, right?
Yeah, but wait. Let's. This is an important distinction. Okay, if some lady gets blasted drunk and passes out in the middle of a bad neighborhood, okay?
Right.
I would not say they're asking for it unless they literally had the intention to get blasted drunk and pass out in that neighborhood.
Right.
Right? Like if they're just out with friends and they're just getting wasted because they're not thinking about it and they just happen to pass out or they happen to pass out, they're not asking for anything. They're just not cognizant and being an idiot.
Right.
And that's the distinction to make. And that's what I'm saying. So
asking for it is like a tough That's a tough phrasing because obviously it doesn't. Usually, when people say you're asking for it, they don't really mean you're literally asking.
Yeah,
for
they mean you're
it.
doing something that's highly irresponsible.
Right.
That you're basically tempting fate.
You're tempting fate. That's a
Right.
better phrasing.
And Mia,
Yes.
you're right. We shouldn't use the word asking for it because the connotation of that, especially around sexual assault, is so bad and
Right.
muddled. Because it has been used as an excuse to basically excuse sexual assault perpetrators, people that were doing
Right.
the sexual assault. And so, yeah, we should talk about tempting fate's a much better way to say is that, like, yeah, people should not be walking around tempting fate. And I think we can
Yes.
teach people to not tempt fate, but also try to improve society. Like, theoretically, it would be nice if we could live in a society where a person could be blasted out drunk, pass out in anywhere in the entire country, and there would be no fear of sexual assault. Like,
Right.
that would be wonderful. We should be working towards a society.
Right.
But until we get there, we should also be teaching people to not be tempting fate on an individual level.
Yes, very much so. It's a weird thing though because we're such an individualistic society. Nobody wants to tell anybody, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." Like
Right.
as soon as you tell someone you shouldn't do that, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy. You're like, "Yeah, you shouldn't get blasted drunk and pass out naked in the street." What? Why are you trying to cramp my style here? This is me. This is my authentic self.
Right. Blaine's Escape Corner for $20. Thank you. Says, when I worked at the gun shop, I sold tons of pink and rainbow guns because if you use it in defense and get pulled into court, imagine a lawyer holding up a pink gun saying, "Is this the weapon that shot the deceased?" That's actually, I wonder if there's been some psychological study on, like, if you use a pink or rainbow gun in self-defense, are you more or less likely to be found innocent? Because, like, if you have like
there
a pink,
everyone they'd be flying off the shelves.
well, no, not necessarily, because like a lot of people, they want the cool gun that's got like the camo on it, right? Or it's like all black or steel or something, you know, like. Because I
a
don't know.
jail-free card with the color of your gun is pretty hard to resist.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, I would intuit. I don't know if this is true. I would intuit that if you were, I mean, I don't know how often it happens, but I would intuit that juries would look at someone. It's like a self-defense situation too, who's claiming that they shot someone in self-defense and they have some pink rainbow gun, because that's going to put out of your mind that this is a person walking around looking for trouble, right?
Right.
Like if they got like the Rambo, camouflage on their gun,
Yeah,
you
they're
might be
going
more
to jail.
likely.
Hang
Yeah, you might be
high.
more likely to believe like, oh, this is a vigilante, right?
Right. Pink gun, you're going, this is not a vigilante.
Yeah. So.
Not everyone within any of these groups who does this, but like you said, it's a lot of people. And the reason to me that this is worth talking about is I think we can learn about why people don't behave in ways that are like politically rational. I think we can learn a lot about shame.
Anyone who doesn't vote or think exactly like me, just irrational. Completely irrational.
Yeah.
Just some people, levels of stupidity off the charts. And the levels of hubris. Like, oh, I am obviously the intelligent person here.
Of course.
It's funny because in a different context, this person would probably make an argument about how people who are raised with a certain religion obviously believe that religion, right? It's not really true, but they believe that because that's what they've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
But they never stop to think, wow, I was raised progressive. I wonder if all the things I was taught were true. No, let's not think about it too much. Let's move on, right?
Shame, scapegoating, the need for validation from people who will never give it to us. So I did want to lay just like a teeny tiny bit of historical groundwork because I was doing some research for this episode and I learned that the basic thing that we're going to be talking about today has gone back to like pre-Stonewall. And that is that there have been in the gay movement, now we call it kind of LGBTQ movement, but it was originally just the gay movement or like the homophile movement. There were two basic strategies for how gay people.
What? I've never heard the term homophile. is that?
Homophile? Someone
what
who
is
loves the gays?
Homophile movement.
Like, instead of a homophobe. a
All of
homophile.
these new words. Oh, I guess homophile is someone who loves gays, right? If
Homophile. A person active in supporting the rights of gay people.
Okay.
That's the
Look,
worst.
Sitch,
Oh my
you're a
God.
homophile. I had no
I know,
idea.
I'm gonna say, that's the worst branding of all time. What are the gays thinking? That's awful. Who wants to be called a homophile? That sounds
Look,
terrible.
I support gay rights. I support gay marriage. As soon as you call me a homophile,
I'm out.
those things are on the table now. I might withdraw my support at any minute here. Look, don't call me a homophile.
Oh, I sent you a DM. But it said in the 50s and 60s that homophile kind of came out in the 50s and 60s to be like people advocating for gay rights. And I mean, that's the worst branding of all time. I don't know what they were thinking. Come on, gays. You're usually better at branding than this. This is bad. Twitter Socks for $20 says, it's really funny how the crowd that says, quote, birth control should be free says that preventing a bad situation from occurring is victim blaming. Both are preventions, right? It makes dressing like a sleut appropriate. Yeah, I mean, essentially, I think a lot of the victim blaming stuff is people they're just using it to justify whatever behavior they want, essentially. And then that obviously the consistency of the argument falls away when it comes to something they don't care about or don't want, like limiting birth control.
It's too bad that we don't have a bisexual to talk to us about this, because like I'm straight. I'm technically super straight. So and Sitch, I think you're super straight too. So
I am, yeah.
If we had someone that could join the call that was actually bisexual, they might help us.
They could give us some insight.
Yeah. You don't know anyone we could reach out to, do you?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'll see. I'll see if.
Well, think about it. Think about it. If someone, think about it. If you have any bisexual friends, if you guys in the chat know of anyone bisexual that might could come in and give us their perspective.
Is Depp really bi, or is he just straight and he likes trans girls and femboys?
That's something I don't even know. Look, I don't even know if Dev is technically bi. Look, if Dev has like if he's given a blowjob, I think we can call him bi. Okay.
Where's Dev in my DM? I'm asking this question.
I'm comfortable. If you're a guy and you've given a blowjob, I'm comfortable calling you bi. Okay.
Dev, are you bi, and have you ever given a blowjob?
Look, he's gonna answer back that he's given a blowjob to a female penis, so it's technically straight.
It's gonna be, listen, it's confusing. I know.
This is the wacky world we live in now.
Figure it out, all right? Try to get.
Look, I guess. Look, if you don't want to be called gay or bi, and you're out there sucking, blowing lady penis. Look, I'm trying to be sensitive here.
Right.
Look, I don't want to be called a homophile, so I get it. I get it. I'm fine with that. Guys, you're straight in my book, okay? You're not super straight, but you're straight, okay?
You're straight enough? Straight-ish?
Well, no, super straight. Don't you remember super straight as the meme about people, about being straight but not wanting to have sex with trans women, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
So maybe super straight is actually useful here, because if you're just straight, you're in Dev's position, right?
Right.
He's just straight.
Yeah, he's straight but not super. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think femboy is pushing the. I don't think you're straight when you get to femboys. I think that's
pushing the line.
I think that's pushing the line.
Sitch is so conservative.
How does our token bisexual feel about this?
I feel like Zoom is cursed and retarded, and I hate it.
What? Hold on, Sitch, really? Oh my God! Welcome, Rags.
Do you know the incredible pressure that you put me on when you're like, Holly, we do a hey, and then I'm sitting here and I get a link and I click the link and then Zoom takes 17 minutes to open. I'm like, okay, this is strange. I know it's not my fucking supercomputer. Zoom is just being slow, and then it opens up and I'm like, well, let me check my settings just to make sure, and it crashes because it can't handle opening the settings. And I'm like, all right. Well, let's go back to the link. I click the link again, and now Zoom's like, no, we're doing something different this time. I want you to log in. And I'm like, log in? I don't know my login. Shit, I didn't have to do that before. Let's close it and try again. And the third time, it's like, we want you to log in, but also don't worry about it. Here's the room. And so I go to the room, and I'm like, okay, I finally made it in. Hooray.
See,
Well,
look, you just had
welcome.
to keep clicking it, and it just works.
Yeah, Zoom's great. It's really, Zoom's really good. I really like it.
Hey, listen, we had What If All Hissed on, and he had someone mowing the lawn outside, and we couldn't even hear it.
Can't
Audio
do
was
that on
crystal-
Discord.
Yeah, crystal clear audio.
Well, on Discord has noise cancellation.
It sucks.
Anyway,
That's all right. It's pretty good.
what is your perspective on this? Rumor has it you're actually bisexual, Rags.
Those are the rumors. I won't confirm or
Okay.
deny them. This is all alleged. Everything that I say in this podcast is alleged.
Alleged. Okay.
This is all alleged, just for the
Right.
record. All of this is alleged.
Mhm.
I think I was listening to kind of throughout your conversation with What If Alt Hist, and that was an interesting conversation. He seems like an interesting fellow.
Yeah.
And then you started talking about, I guess, the main topic, and it got to the recent gun parts, the like the pink gun. I forget which kind it was. Beretta's a company, so a Beretta can be all kinds of different things, but the pink gun, right?
A 92 Beretta. Is that a
In
thing?
the Beretta 92, yeah, like an FS or yeah, something like that. But they were talking about the gun, and I got a pink gun, and you think you're gonna win people over, and some people are bitching about how the guns are getting woke now and everything. And I'm thinking, well, let's assume that that's all true. Let's assume that a lot of conservatives or gun people or whatever don't really like this idea of, I guess, pink guns or whatever, even though they've been around. You go into any gun store and there's going to be a pink gun or
yeah.
two. There's going to be a couple pink guns, or like a light blue one, a ladyish color, because it's more whatever. And because sometimes guys bring in their
That
wives.
ichor you're covered in actually makes you prettier, adventurer. It certainly does make you reek at the same time, though. Don't stand too close to the Kodo. You'll either start a stampede or cause them to go into heat. I think my companions would agree that your smell alone is proof you've done your part to help us against those insect creatures. Thank you, adventurer.
Girlfriends, and they're like, hey, let's get you a gun or whatever, and then so people will do that sort of thing. But I'm thinking, well, a lot of this stuff is incremental, right? If you ask a lot of people today who are fine with gays and gay marriage and stuff like that, a lot of conservative Christian types, and really whoever, I wonder if you would have said, well, decades ago, how did you feel about it? Things take time and attitudes take time to change, and writing off one side as, they'll never like us, is already admitting defeat, not just
Great
in your
point.
own ability to get points across or to normalize things, but people really are willing to accept new things if you present it to them in an often unceremonious way. And I think that with think back to the 90s and early 2000s.
Well, I would say non-confrontational.
Yeah, non-confrontational is a good way to put it. Back in the 90s and the early 2000s, right, was, race wasn't on everyone's mind back then. It was very matter of fact.
Watch where
My
you're
parents,
stepping,
when I was
adventurer,
growing up,
because I
never
have a
gave me a
polymorph.
talk about race. And so I grew up just thinking, some people are just, they just look different. Some people have big noses, small noses. Some people have big ears, small ears. Some people are tall. Some people are short. Some people are black. Some people are white and blue, green, and everything.
Need assistance? BC? You got them! Thanks, adventurer! Wow, these shells are harder than I thought. When I work with them, I'll probably bend a whole box full of tools. Our rocket car is the fastest thing on the flats. So fast that I'm afraid friction is going to tear it apart. To prevent that, I need to create a composite to coat the car's moving parts. It must be hard, but not brittle, and must be resistant to salt corrosion, or time spent on the shimmering flats will eat it away. Have you heard of the Vile Reef, adventurer? It's off the coast of Stranglethorn Vale. Salt-scale murlocs live there, and their tail fins are a crucial ingredient of my composite. I'm developing a new engine that'll make the car go so fast! Fast enough to fly, I know it! I just need to make pistons that can handle very, very heavy stress. All my trials have failed because I can't make pistons hard enough. But there is someone who might know how. His name is Martek the Exiled. He is a great smith and knows more about metal than anyone. Take him this letter. I know he can help, but he's far, far away. In Azeroth, in the Badlands, in a camp with a goblin. Find him!
I hope you didn't kill any of the basilisks on the tracks themselves. It takes a long time for the carcasses to decay in the sun, and I'd rather not have to take a shovel out to clean up. Where would you like to fly to?
And it was just so matter of fact that it was not even worthy of really talking about. And I feel with the gay issue, right, it's probably very similar. If you're not going out here and looking insane and saying terrible things and sensationalizing everything, and you really are doing the thing of we're just like you but gay, we're just normal people but gay, then no one will think twice about being around you or having you as part of the society. You're not trying to big it up or play it up and make yourself seem like you're, like you're crazy and insane in a lot of situations.
That's your liberal assimilationist attitude.
Yeah, that's my liberal assimilationist attitude. I'm not like a big into super insane revolutionary sorts of things. Now I'm for things like probably good that we made an amendment that said slavery was no longer okay. Stuff like that is a-okay.
Probably.
Making it to where gay marriage is legal in the U.S. on a federal level, I'm totally fine with that. Pro it. That was a good idea. But you do want to change attitudes, and you do want to win people over time, so that one day you don't have a president get elected and he puts in 3 Supreme Court justices or something like that, right? You want to get people to elect people based on their attitudes, because that stuff carries forward. And if you don't win them over, then they could fall back into worse ways. It's in a lot of ways, it's a slow and steady kind of fight,
Definitely. I agree. And I think, and a part of the problem is, as I said, I think wokeness is basically unraveling a lot of the success that we've already achieved. So
I think a lot of it has to do with like when the kids get brought into it, like, wow, you guys really want to read books to kids a lot. That's weird. And you really want to do drag shows for kids a lot. That seems really weird, guys. I don't know about that. Then people start to raise brows, and the reaction to that is going to be probably exactly what you expect. So if it wasn't for a lot of that stuff, I think a lot of that has really kind of hurt the movement and hurt the perceptions of trans people and the LGBTQAI2S, whatever it is now.
3 Spirit, yes.
Yeah, and I think part of it is on the left. I see this a lot. On the right, a little. I see it more on the right, but I never see it on the left really. This idea that you need to kind of keep your own house clean and you need to police your own side a bit. I'm not talking like purity testing, even though it technically is purity testing, I guess. But like the reasonable nature of how like people on the right, they see like an actual racist a lot of the time, and they're like, oh yeah, y'all are nuts and crazy. You're not actually a part of us. The left needs to do that with a lot of people who are super crazy as well, and say, no, y'all are taking this way too far, and you need to quit that. Even the furries are doing that with like zoophiles and stuff. They've got their shit together to some degree. So like, damn, come on.
Yeah, and the dangerous part and the dangerous thing is when the right, because I agree the left doesn't do that at all. And the dangerous thing is that I feel like the right is starting to do that a little bit less and less to kind of compete with the left not doing it all.
Maybe, and it's weird because that's how you
because now
don't
it's
compete.
like everything is like whenever you see like white nationalists doing some kind of march or something, it's like, oh, those are all feds, those are all glowies. They're
It's
not
all
really
feds, or they're not really this or that, and we're kind of caught in this weird space of the word racist, homophobic, transphobic, It's been overblown and used way too much, so it's lost a lot of its power. That sometimes you actually forget that there are actually those people out there. And when they rear their ugly heads, you do have to address it. You have to say, oh yeah, in this movement, we have fun memes and everything, but like for realsies, black people are cool. Y'all can't be over here. Y'all are like fucked up, right? You're not part of us.
True.
And another thing that I was thinking as well before we continue, is I think that I grew up as a relatively middle-ish class, at least for my area, Christian, conservative kind of person. And my parents still are, though I would say they're pretty cool. They're not like crazy or anything like that, but they're both conservative and they're religious. And I think that some people, maybe it's people's ability to compartmentalize the way that they think politically speaking, is when I started having like gay thoughts, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm gay too. So I'm like, it's just this realization that you're bisexual. I was like, okay, I guess that's a thing now. Neat. I didn't have any weird dark night of the soul about it, and it was really easy for me to compartmentalize. Like my sexuality isn't like this important thing about me, really. I can still have conservative opinions in terms of family this and community that and financial this and economic that. That has
You've
nothing to
seen
do with me
Mokhtar
being gay.
recently? He always be looking out for me. I'm sorry to hear he spends his time watching over his little war band instead of seeing battle, but I'm sure he be taking great joy in killing members of the Explorers League. You be smart to bring me these specimens, adventurer. Along with the eggs we be finding in the Field of Giants, these should give me a good start in figuring out what these insects are and what they be wanting. Head back to Belgrim in Orgrimmar and tell him Mokhtar be doing his bidding well out in the Thousand Needles. Tell him also that me studies progress and I hope to be having learned more soon. That should please him greatly.
Gay at all. Just because I realize, oh, I have gay thoughts now, that doesn't mean that I have to like throw it all out and now I'm a leftist.
Like,
you know?
yeah, that being gay doesn't, or bisexual doesn't define your entire personality.
Well, yeah, it turns out that it has shockingly little to do with the rest of your life.
Right.
It really is not like a huge part of your life. But when it's a part of your life, it is a huge part of your life. But normally it isn't that part, right?
Right.
It's like swimming. You probably don't swim that much, but when you are swimming, it's really important that you swim. So being able to compartmentalize
We have
in a
our
healthy
duties,
way.
adventurer. Duties to the Horde.
Yes, I am recruiting. This mission leads into Desolace, against the Centaur there. I will be brief so that you may quickly begin.
The Kolkar Centaur live in Desolace, and their forces have spread into the Barrens. This is a known fact, and we have Horde agents dealing with them here. But as long as the Centaur are strong in Desolace, they will always pose a threat. It is time we rid ourselves of that threat. Speak with Felgor Two-Cuts at Ghost Walker Post in Desolace. He was sent to gather intelligence on the Centaur. He will know how to best deal with the Kolkar of Desolace.
It doesn't mean like get really good at cognitive dissonance, but being able to compartmentalize the elements of your life and who you are and how you see yourself is really important. And if you're able to do that in a healthy way, then you end up having a healthy mix of all kinds of different ideas, which is why I can still have some conservative ideas and I can still have, I guess, left ideas, liberal ideas, whatever that word means, depending who you're talking to. And I don't feel like I'm weird. I don't feel like I have anything in my head that's fighting. I don't have any like internal conflict. Everything kind of works with itself.
Right.
There is this weird social environment though now where you do get a lot of head pats for being queer or gay or coming out as LGBT.
Yeah, it's
which
like
I do
it's like
think
easy
kind of
mode
incentivizes that
in a way. There's a lot of communities and a lot of spaces where you can just say, "Oh yeah, I'm queer, demi-pan, whatever. My pronouns are she, them, it, whatever." And then you can, it's instantly like, "Oh, they're one of us. They're friendly. I can assume already so much about your opinions, and a lot of the time it's true, right? If I go into someone's profile and they have the pronouns listed, it's like I probably have about 70% of you pegged down pretty accurately, you know.
Right.
But it does seem in a lot of places it's easy mode. It's a ticket to acceptance in a lot of ways. So I know it catches people kind of out of the loop a lot of the times when they come to me and they're like, "Oh, you're LGBT," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I guess technically I am, but I don't advertise it, and I don't fucking care about it. You know, I don't have pronouns. Don't address me."
What was the hardest?
It's the gay
hardest thing?
fascists that are really, I mean, they're the marginalized group.
that's
here,
The be gay, do crime stuff. Oh, I fucking hate
well,
it so
you
much.
know, like if you're a gay fascist and you go into one of these groups and you tell everyone, "Look, I'm gay."
Well, I don't know. Look at Nick Flint. He's doing pretty well. He's like the leader of the movement. He's a gay cowboy.
Hey.
Look, I'm not sure if that's it. Look, I'm not sure if we know Nick Fuentes is gay or not.
We know. Come on, he's
I'm-
not straight.
look,
we know
I'm
that. We don't know what he
I'm
is. But
talking
he's not
about the
straight.
marginalized gay fascist.
He
who
is
try-
a gay cat boy lover. All right.
Who does the gay look? We're talking. Look, this podcast immediately became about intersectionality. Who does the gay fascist go to become friends? You can't be friends with
They
other
become a
fascists.
griper. What do you mean? It's already there. It's right there, Adam. It's right there.
I don't look. Obviously,
You don't know this? Hitler was gay too. Turns out all the like the most worst dictators.
He
they were
lost
all
his
gay.
well, he lost his straight ball, and then when
Dude.
that happened, it was a slide into.
True.
do you think a fascist can be openly gay in a fascist community, or a gay
Yes.
Yeah,
can
there's
go
no reason
into a
why.
gay community and be openly fascist?
Theoretically, yes, but it'd be
Yeah, I don't
difficult.
see why not. I mean, I'm not like a big political guy. I don't know much about political
I thought
theory.
you were gonna say I'm a fascist.
Now, as a fascist, allegedly, I want to outlaw heterosexuality in my fascist utopia.
My word.
Yes,
My word.
absolutely, and women.
What was the most difficult thing for your parents to accept? You coming out as bi? You coming out as a YouTuber? Or you coming out as a dog?
They don't know that I'm bi. It's none of their
Okay.
business. I haven't told them any of that stuff. I haven't told them about like I'm an atheist, I'm bisexual, because it's just none of their business.
Do they know you're a
Um,
dog and a YouTuber?
They do. They do know that they know that I'm a YouTuber and I do a podcast and I have this dog character. And that's really as far as it goes because we just sort of live in separate worlds in that regard.
Right.
They're just not like interested in the kind of things I talk about enough to like engage with it. It's not really their wheelhouse. I do my thing. I don't have to come and ask them for money or anything like that. I visit them often. We get along. Things are great.
Right.
And a lot of things are just not, it's not their business to know. So
You
I
don't
don't
wear
worry
like a
about
big
it.
shirt with lights that says "Hey LGBT
Hey.
rainbow flag." You have
Yeah.
to accept this.
Boy, I sure do love being gay, Mom. Let me tell you. It's great.
Thank you so much, our surrogate father J-Mac, for the 50 gifted memberships.
Wow. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let's get back to this video.
People thought that
Oh wait, you're not in the washing good.
Oh, yeah, I need to click the other
You
link. The
click
first one was
that.
throwing me for such a loop. I just-
You
oh
were
my
so
goodness.
confused by Zoom.
I was.
Rags, did you have any opening thoughts on what we watched so far of this video?
Oh, did we not do that?
Well, you kind of did.
We kind of
Did
did.
we?
What does the H stand for?
What?
On the person's, this lady's?
It's a guy. No, it's a guy.
Damn it. This guy's, oh my God, those nails.
I
What
know.
the fuck? How do you use your phone? How do you use life?
It's funny, like when you look at certain aesthetic things that are so not practical to whatever you're trying to do, you're like, it's got to look so good for you to do that, and then you see these giant nails, you're like, they look so awful.
I
Like,
can
don't
understand.
like them.
Because I think everyone is willing to accept a certain level of discomfort personally in order to look a certain way.
Yes.
I mean, everything from
Well,
suits to
to
shoes,
look good.
no,
Right.
to look a certain way. I think
Yeah.
that there are people who, like, let me tell you, okay, recently I went to my first furry convention. I was invited to a furry convention. Had a good time. It was very interesting. What a fucking strange place.
Wow.
But a lot of people in fursuits, right?
Did
from
they,
what I
did
hear,
they know you
because-
as Rags, a YouTube personality, or was it?
Were you wearing
I
a
got-
big
I got-
rag's head?
No, I don't have a fursuit. No, I
Oh,
just showed up. I got a little badge made by a friend of mine, and about a dozen people recognized me just from seeing me wear the badge that said Rags and it had the dog on it. And so that was neat. You know, it was positive interactions. But people are willing to do the fursuiting thing, even though you sweat buckets in there, and it's often very uncomfortable. But it puts out a look and a vibe, and it's being part of a community and a little subculture within a subculture. So people do it. So this was about long nails originally before we went into this horrific rabbit hole, so to speak. But yeah, some people are willing to put up with levels of discomfort in order to look a certain way. But I think there's no way I'm attaching those talons to the end of my fingers. That's
They're not-
ridiculous.
They don't even look good.
They look awful because the moment you see them, you don't think about how they look. You think about how ridiculously impractical they are. Like the first thing I said was, how does she use her phone? You know, like or type on a keyboard?
A boy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm legitimately sorry. That was
bigot.
I'm sorry. That was
Is this a
legitimately
he?
Yes.
What?
He,
Wait, which one did I
him
say?
pronouns?
That's a he, him. That's a gay boy.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm
Femme gay boy.
apologies to all of my gay brothers and
Yes.
sisters and whatever you call the ones in the middle. I don't actually give a fuck, but I'm just I see that my brain just takes over. I'm on autopilot.
It's funny because yeah, nowadays it's
Greetings,
like
adventurer. Is there something I can help you with? The days and nights grow colder throughout the world as goblins rape the land, and the night elves point fingers at their younger races. The Forsaken and Orcs are not the only ones to blame for the hardships found throughout Kalimdor and Lordaeron. Many of the intelligent races have contributed to the world's pain. Dorn knows this, and he has sent you to me because you have shown the attributes necessary to realize it also. Now you stand before Braug. You have passed Dorn's tests, and now you seek to pass your next trial. Very good. But up until now, your challenges have been childish. It is easy to test your body. Your mind is another matter completely. I shall explain it simply. Find the book I name, study it, and answer my question about its contents. What book, you must be asking? The Legacy of the Aspects. It can be found at the bottom of Dordaniel in southern Ashenvale, protected by the dead druids and their slayers.
who knows? Who the hell knows what's going on? Okay. Anyway.
We should become, accepted in society. One is assimilationist and the other is liberationist. So assimilationists are people who want to integrate into social structures that already exist. And their main tactics for doing that are things like lobbying with politicians, working within the law, litigation, and whatnot. Liberationists want to expand the social structures to include them. And those are, involved more in protesting and demonstrations. And the tensions between these two.
Okay, wait. I agree with like the assimilationist thing. The liberationist one is completely way off. It's not about expand. Like, well, I guess maybe that it's true in like a very putting the best spin on it. Because I'd say the liberationist attitude is essentially we are being oppressed. Whatever we feel, whatever we want to do is oppressing us. So we basically have to force that society accepts who we are, or we're going to destroy society and burn it all down.
I see it as working within the establishment or being revolutionary and tearing down the establishment. I think that was the classic Marx divide.
That's a better way of sort of saying like we're going to achieve equality by destroying society versus working within society.
Consider one of them is bottom up and one of them is top down.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true-ish. The assimilationist is more likely to try to work within the constraints of the top, right? To say to pass rights and legislation of that nature.
Few basic ideas goes back to like the 50s and before Stonewall, when people tended to be more assimilationist. People wanted to be like, we are going to find a way to fit into society. And
it's kind of hilarious that the current queer movement is not seen as a highly assimilationist movement among Zoomers and young people, when it is a completely trendy thing. it is an assimilation aesthetic that they're all trying to kind of ape from each other.
I see the divide that's being made here. It's between changing yourself to accommodate society or changing society to accommodate you. That's the divide they're trying to illuminate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Stonewall marked this paradigm shift because Stonewall was a very liberationist act. It was, we don't care about the fact that we're never going to fit in. We're never going to fit in, and we're fighting back against that. So you're going to make room for us no matter what. You can kind of.
So there's like this weird mythology that was created about Stonewall that it's completely like a fiction. And we've talked about this in the show. It's like Stonewall existed because in New York, they literally had laws that made it so that men could not dress up as women and women cannot dress up as men. And there were LGBT clubs where people were in drag or trans or whatever, and they like to do this. And normally the police, before they would raid one of these places, they would give the club a heads up so that all like the offending gays could hide in the back or something. And for some reason, this didn't occur this one time. And so the police basically came in, they started arresting, a lot of people wearing, illegal outfits essentially. And people got really pissed off about it. And it kind of broke down into a riot. And that's all that happened. It wasn't like the people there had these like deep thoughts about like, we're never going to be accepted in society. So now it's time to revolt. Like, it's just like, no, people were just pissed off that people were getting arrested and it became a riot. That's all that happened.
They have totally reimagined it as like a political meeting. They were meet here at this time and we're going to talk about the future of our movement.
Right. Well, I think for a lot of queer individuals, simply existing as queer in a queer space, they would argue is a political movement or a political action. So,
yeah, but they weren't talking about how to change society. They were like, they didn't even really have that.
It was a bar
idea in their heads.
Club.
Yeah,
people just
they were like, look, we're not allowed to. It was probably a bigger kick for them when they couldn't do it.
Well,
doing it subversively.
I mean, Stonewall, the bar seemed pretty awful. So I don't know if that's the case.
People are still acting like what they're doing is subversive, even though it's completely accepted with all the major corporations, McDonald's, Nike, Target. Right. They're all in favor of it. So subversive, right? That's why, look, the true subversive act now is being a conservative. It's being Jeffree Star.
Well, what?
That's what people are upset about.
Okay.
It's Jeffree Star, right?
Jeffree Star is not really conservative. Well, okay, whatever.
Draw this through line from that very divide to what we have now, which are people who I think hold the beliefs of, Natalie and myself and many other people, which are that we should be fighting for greater acceptance of all people. We should be learning more about identities, expanding our ideas, being open to learning new things versus these kind of...
Yeah, exactly. If that's gay fascist,
they say
obviously.
That, but, yeah, they say that, but you don't really mean that.
Not at all. That's what's so ironic. If the person is the slightest bit conservative, of course, they're a fascist.
Conservative gay groups that are arguing, well, maybe if we were just a little more normal, then we could fit in and then society would accept us. And really, it's the crazy gays and activists and the people who wear, long nails and 37 pronouns, and it's their fault that we don't.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Well, it's
probably.
always
there's probably a lot of truth to that. The weirder and stranger you make yourself, the harder it is to get people to accept you as normal. But that's just, well, of course, the stranger you are, the less normal you are. That's like tautologically the case.
Right.
So if everyone was like super duper, like if we had a world where culturally and aesthetically there was no like gay aesthetic, I bet gay acceptance would have happened a whole lot quicker and be a whole lot smoother. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be a gay aesthetic. I'm not saying there should. I'm completely neutral on that topic. There just seems to, things are the way they are. But I think there should be this understanding that the weirder and stranger and more out there you are, then that's how you'll be perceived. That's just that's the way of the world. That's how human beings are.
I think that's completely true. But I think what they're missing is that from their perspective, they think that these LGBT conservatives are just conservatives as like a tactical choice. Like they're saying, oh, we need to become assimilationists. We need to do all this just to get the conservatives not to hate us. When in reality, I think what's going on is that these are people who just have conservative moral intuitions that line up with conservatives, and then they also happen to be gay or trans.
Right. They're
And
just
I
trying to
think-
be themselves.
Right.
I think a lot of this doesn't even have anything to do with like a lot of this isn't really moral or really deep in thought. A lot of this is just, I see someone who's wearing an extremely strange outfit, showing off a lot of skin in places where the sun don't shine, and they look hideously ugly. And there's just that natural, that visceral reaction to it that's just instant, and it's
Right.
really hard to get over. You know, for a lot of people.
You're saying your
a lot
disgust intuition gets
a lot of the time, yeah, a lot of the time, just disgust, and it's a hard hump to get over, especially when it can be, I'm gonna say obvious, but very obvious. You know.
Yeah, no. I agree.
Look, I don't necessarily know how to say this, but it's there's this idea that they're putting out there that the gay conservative is never going to be like straight passing enough for the conservative people. But at the same time, they are basically saying, well, you know, you need to just be a little more progressive to be accepted in the gay community. So they're doing basically like the exact same thing. They're saying, look, you're not progressive passing enough to be accepted with us.
Right.
And if you could just be a little more progressive, you know, then you'd fit in over here. Like they're doing the exact same thing. And it's just as these I feel I'm more empathetic towards the people that are like kind of outcast by both identity groups that they affiliate with. I think, you know, obviously they're going to go to the one that's more accepting of them. And at this moment in time, it's just the conservatives, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Depends on who
Well,
you're talking about.
Look,
I don't think the conservatives are probably going to be more
I
accepting
think
of most
the
LGBT
big
people.
chunk of people in the middle are pretty darn chill about that sort of thing, from my experience.
Right.
I don't. If I am ever denied a service, then it's by people who are super far left because they hate me for whatever stupid reason.
Right.
It's not from anyone who is on the right.
Look, if gay conservative, if those are your two top identities, and you're an outcast in both those communities, that's just a horrible place to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
Back and forth, right? When you look at the history of these things, because pure assimilation can't work, because if you try to make yourself smaller and smaller and smaller until you fit into a society
don't think
that's
calling it
basically
smaller is
against you
fair.
existing,
What's that?
I don't think framing it as you're making yourself smaller and smaller and smaller by necessarily trying to fit in.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a good way to sort of look at it. I think that there might be an element of maybe trying to understand that not everything about you has to be certain things, maybe. But I don't know. Like when you look at all the cultural groups in this country that are just accepted as normal now, Italians and the Irish and German and things like that. I mean, there was absolutely a level of, I guess, assimilationism that they did. People changed their names. People came here. They had their own little sort of sub communities, but they still wanted to fit in with, you know, the idea of America and stuff like that. And now it's just normal. In fact, it's
Right.
weird to not have those things around. Like, what do you mean there's not an Italian restaurant in this town? That kind of stuff. It's just normal.
This is interesting from a moral foundations theory perspective, Sitch, because the two identities in conflict are the gay identity and the conservative identity. But the reason why they're in conflict here is because people accept the gay identity as unchangeable, and they think the conservative identity is obviously, you know, you can change that. That's not immutable. But with moral foundations theory, the idea is maybe it is immutable.
Well, in terms of like, I think people are born with kind of being on what we call the left or the right, or having those moral foundations. But the beliefs that constitute the left and the right, I think, is highly malleable. And I think people can definitely change their perspectives on this. I mean, we were talking about this all the time about how I mean, the right used to be all in favor of big corporations, and now they hate big corporations.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good
And
that's
so,
a good counterpoint.
you
yeah.
can kind of argue a lot of things from a lot of different moral foundations. But I think regarding the assimilation point, I mean, I think Contra's using the word smaller because Contra's kind of going on the arc of seemingly the anti-liberal, anti-assimilationist arc. Because like to give Contra a little bit of charity, it's true that like if you have an attitude of like full-blown assimilation, then you lose what makes you unique at all. Then you are just
If you
kind
go
of-
all the way, absolutely.
yeah, if you just go all the way. But obviously not going assimilating at all is just the other end of the awful
Yeah,
spectrum
just as bad.
where it's just as bad, right? You have to find that kind of middle ground melting pot togetherness, which I believe is kind of the example you're bringing for like Italians and Irish. I believe all these communities have essentially succeeded at doing this, finding that middle ground in America. So
You're going to shrink to the point of annihilation, right? And some people do try to do that.
well, and also this could actually be a really bad example too, because when we're talking about like assimilation, usually we're talking about immigrants. And so you have people who come from a different country that have different cultural attitudes and values. And those cultural attitudes and values are like mixing in.
That's like your culture, like in a very strong sense, your culture and your heritage.
Right.
And
right.
when you compare that to I'm
Being
gay,
yeah, like
what exactly are you giving up? Where are you making a sacrifice?
right.
What is it
Well,
that you're losing when you're quote unquote assimilating into, I guess, modern American culture? Like you're not fucking in public, you're not wearing a dog mask walking down the road, you're not like half naked with your junk hanging out. What exactly are we talking about? What are you losing and what are you giving up? What sacrifice is being made? What are you toning down?
because it's not like gay people all come from the land of gaytopia, who have like a rich gay culture that they've been like building for the last 1,000 years in the gay empire. And now they're coming to America and they're like assimilated. Like, no, it's like these are Americans who are just gay or trans or something.
Yeah.
And it's like they exist in whatever cultural avenue that all the other Americans around them exist. Now it's a little bit, obviously there's gay communities and things are a little bit different, but so much of these sort of aesthetics and these cultural attitudes along a lot of the queer lines are entirely reactionary, are entirely saying like we need to be different from the straight community. And in some respects, okay, fine, some of that stuff should not be assimilated, but some of it should be. So, I mean, I don't think having a cultural attitude of we just need to be the opposite of the dominant culture is a healthy or good one to have.
Yeah, there is that level of pragmatism that's like, well, guys, maybe if you just like go at 90% for a little while, you can go at 100% later. Just
well, no, I mean,
relax.
No one is ever at 100%. I don't think society can function and everyone being 100% of whatever they want.
Building a culture that's cool is the most important thing. The coolness level.
Yeah, coolness level, but there's also we all have to compromise with each other. We have to live together. There has to be some level
compromise
of compromise.
is not cool. No.
Compromise is losing. If you compromise with conservatives, that means that you you hate them and you're fascist. Because if there's anything the fascists are known for, it's compromise.
There you go.
Exactly. No compromise.
No compromise.
Is
100% full speed ahead.
There you go.
Yep. Die
Live fast, eat
before
trash.
you compromise.
To a society that's basically against you existing, you're going to shrink to the point of annihilation, right? And some people do try to do that. They think that if they can just try to be normal enough and just try to keep their gayness in the bedroom, and if they
you need to the same way that people should probably keep their straightness in the bedroom,
Rags was totally right about this because it really is like they've adopted the
what do you
position
want
that
to do?
Conservatives are never going to accept them. They just can't be accepted, which I don't believe that. I really don't believe that.
I mean, if we're talking about like what displays in public of what gayness do you want to display outwardly that you can't now? Is it just kissing? Because if people like don't allow you culturally to kiss your gay significant other in public, yeah, I'd say that needs to change. People need to chill. But
well, no, I
like,
think there
is
should be
that
a
what she's
constitutional
talking
amendment
about?
against public displays of affection, though. Like that should, look, I'm not in favor of that. Look, you can be kiss your significant
If you're just
other.
smooching them, no one
This
really
is the
gives
book
a
I
shit.
named.
No one
There is hope
cares,
you will
right?
answer
If
my
that
question correctly then, unless you've forgotten to study its contents. When you are prepared, speak to me again, and I shall ask a question of you. You have brought me the book, and now it is time for your question. Are you ready? Time is not an issue, adventurer, so do not feel pressured. You may take as long as you like to answer. I've been expecting you. Walk with the earth, mother. The winds.
Slippery slope. Next thing you
Well
know,
done,
you're having
There'll
sex.
be
in
mar-
this-
You have studied the text I asked you to, and now you have passed another of our tests. Well done, adventurer. You have passed the first portion of the test of lore, but there is still another question to be answered. But that question is not mine to ask. Seek out Parqual Fintalis in Lordaeron City. He was a great historian for the humans before the plague overtook him. Now he continues to seek enlightenment, but of a different nature. He will have another requirement of you before he asks you anything, but you have done masterfully thus far. I'm sure you will overcome his obstacle.
Aryan
Straight.
dogs. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You know, try to.
Oh, Seth, you want to say
The
something?
Don't Say Gay bill or the parental rights education was a huge misstep because I feel like the first thing I'd have if I asked ContraPoints, someone like this, I would say, you know, like you're acting like we're living in the 1950s. Like people, like we're living in the probably the most free time for gay and trans people to be out and open, where they're basically you gain, and in a lot of communities, I guess it depends where you live, but in a lot of communities, you literally gain social capital for coming out as being gay and trans. So this idea that like, oh, you know, the queer people are being told to shrink themselves smaller and smaller and smaller. I don't know. That's just not true. It's just completely not true. And I feel like the only thing that they'll point to if you bring this up is, well, you know, in Florida, you're not even allowed to talk about being gay in schools or something. And it just seemed like that was such an easy misstep for the Republicans of Florida to insert in that bill just to allow this kind of like insane straw man to keep getting passed down the road.
The insane straw man, I totally agree with you that it was a misstep to put that in the bill, but the parental rights and education bill was totally necessary.
The other
And
parts of it.
Right. And no matter what they did, even if they didn't do the overreach, it was going to be branded as a Don't Say Gay bill. None of that is
Well, if it
going
didn't
to
have the word
change.
gay in it, they literally couldn't brand it that way. It had nothing to do
would.
with being gay.
They would.
I don't think so. Nah. It would be the Don't Say Trans bill or something, which people would be a lot more tolerable to dealing with.
Wow. That would be an interesting twist.
Yeah.
If they're like, oh, they did a Don't Say Trans bill and it
Well, think about it.
completely
The
ripped
Don't Say-
apart the
the-
trans community.
The Don't Say Gay bill is also a Don't Say Trans bill, and yet no one labeled it that way. And that's because they know they labeled it Don't Say Gay because gay acceptance seems, or being anti-gay acceptance is seen as so much more egregious than trans acceptance, and that's why
Look,
it's got labeled that way.
I
And the
feel
read on
like-
it's just going to
I
be just
agree.
like, don't talk about that stuff with kids. Don't talk to them about sexual stuff, any
Right.
sexual stuff. That's between the parents and them, or when they learn how babies are made when they get to 6th grade or whatever that happens. I don't fucking know.
I feel like if they branded it the Don't Say Trans bill, it would be a giant wedge because I do feel like half the gay community is anti-trans anyway.
Yeah.
They're just like keeping it to themselves.
Yeah, it's like they are a subunit of a subunit. They're not part of the others in a way. They're doing their own thing, and they're the really weird ones of the group.
Well, a lot of gay people feel like a lot of trans people are just future gay people that are getting transed at a young age. So they feel like this personal affront to the trans movement.
Repeat the other conservative talking points and join in with other forms of bigotry, then they'll be one of the good ones and they'll be accepted. And
What's this with joining in the bigotry?
Can you imagine such a thing? Like, oh,
Joining
Blair
in the
White,
bigotry?
can you come on our podcast and be anti-gay, anti-trans? Like, when is that happening? What is
No,
that?
it's never going to happen.
Where is that happening? It's so weird.
If we are to make
Twitter
these
sucks for
new
$20
lands
says,
ours, then
don't
we
think of
must have
hierarchies as
places to
top down
rest
or
our-
bottom up, but rather as power bottoms and submissive tops.
Nice. I'm a spicy power bottom myself.
There you go. And Spencer Harmon, thanks so much for the 10 gifted memberships. Thank you.
Multiple people over the last 5 years very publicly attempt and fail to do this by becoming gay Republicans or, God help them, trans Republicans, and that doesn't work. But I think, and then there's another extreme, right, where like you can get so disillusioned with the homophobia or the transphobia of society that you almost you kind of give up, and you.
This will sound strange, but you'll agree with me. So I should preface a lot of things I say like that. So the other day I watched a very good movie called Ratatouille, right?
Great
And
movie.
Remy wants to cook. He wants to be a cook. He wants to be creative, and he wants to express himself in a world that maybe despises him, that doesn't like what he is, the very core of what he is, a rat. It is not accepted in the human world that he wants to be a part of, except for, of course, Linguini and his cooperation with him. And Remy's father warns him, in a rather ballsy scene that you don't see in Pixar movies anymore. Remy's father takes him to an exterminator shop where they have displayed the corpses of rats on the window. And he says, take a good long look, Remy. This is what the world thinks of us. They'll never like you. They'll never accept you. You can never be a part of that world. But Remy says, no, there might be hatred out there, but change is within our power. In fact, nature is change. Change is nature, and we have the power to change things. I am going to go to that kitchen and I'm going to cook with my friend Linguini. And so he does. And that's one of the big messages of the movie Ratatouille. It's one of the reasons that I really, really love it. Don't accept the world for the way that it is, even if it seems cruel and against you. You can change it and you can work towards it. So,
which is weird because that's usually supposed to be like the left-wing thought process.
Yeah.
And yet this is the opposite.
there's this defeatism almost I see a lot of times. Conservatives will never accept you. They'll never do this. They'll never do that. It's like, well, maybe it's just a matter of how you're going about it and how your messaging is. Maybe that's the issue, you know?
I think the
Maybe
defeatism
changing
is
your
kind of like tactical. It's tactical defeatism.
Well, maybe if you changing the way that you present your message doesn't change the message. It doesn't change any fundamental part of who you are or what you are. If you maybe act a little tactical, for God's sakes, and maybe don't, go crazy and out there.
Well, I think it's just like we don't want to compromise. So we don't want to
They're
compromise.
the ones who have to change, not me.
Yeah, exactly.
You become like a separatist. And so I've met queer people like this. They think, look, there's no place for us in this society, so we need to go our own way and we need to become separatists. And they often think of this as like a very radical position, but in my opinion, it isn't, because separatism isn't going to change society. You're just leaving, right? And I mean, it's like that type of radical feminism that's like, okay, it's all the women are going to go out into like the wilderness and have a radical feminist commune. It's like, well, is that a challenge to patriarchy, or have you simply created a convent?
Well, and is there a world in which that happens?
I personally have never thought that it's an effective way of doing anything, because you sort of need to balance the two approaches, right? Someone needs to assimilate a little bit in order to get the power to change society. So, you're going to need someone like Harvey Milk to get elected, and then from that position can start making these changes that need to be made. If you're so against assimilation that you won't even engage with, government or with, any kind of existing power structures, then you were never going to have enough power to affect the change that you're trying to affect. So that's the way that I see the history of this. Is sometimes like assimilation goes too far, and then you have to do something like Stonewall, and then there has to be a follow up to a riot, right? Like a riot ignites a new era of activism, but that activism then has to get organized. It can't just be an ongoing riot, because a riot is too chaotic to, change a riot on its own, that is, you know, it can ignite a movement that will affect change, but a riot on its own is too destructive to really change anything.
Speaking of
So, Contra said this idea about how you have to assimilate enough in order to basically get into positions of power to enact change, which I think that's the wrong way. Like, I understand that she's talking to a leftist audience, so maybe this is her trying to persuade a bunch of these Zoomer socialists to not be full-blown revolutionaries. And if that's the case, then fine. But from
And
like
that's good. Yeah, you want to temper that a bit. Yeah.
right. But from like a more neutral perspective, I mean, the goal of assimilation should not be assimilate enough to become subversive. Like that's not a good way of like.
Yeah, there's a
putting that
difference
into
between
concept.
being like subversive and just being like, well, I mean, if we want to live in a society and change it, then we have to show that we're a part of this society. You know?
Yeah, we're teammates here.
You need to become just enough assimilated that you can outlaw heterosexual marriage, and then
True.
that's when the true utopia spawns.
Sure.
Yeah, I
The
don't
journey
look, I don't know.
to banning women begins with the first step. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't agree with this strategy either, sis.
trans Republicans, one of the most popular trans influencers, at least trans political influencers, is a Republican. I know you're probably tired of this, but
I have no idea who you mean.
We're talking about you, right, Rex? You're trans now.
Yes.
Okay.
I am trans canine. I was born a dog, but sometimes I pretend to be human. And I feel like I'm a human on the inside, but, you know.
We accept you for that.
Yeah.
We'll always call you human. Here on the Sitch and Adam show, we'll always call you human.
Oh, thank you very much.
If someone calls
really
you a good
appreciate
boy, is that like is that offensive?
No, there's still a part of me that there's still a part of me that my brain
Yeah.
that I can't say no. I can't
It's
say
not a
no.
microaggression.
It's too good. No,
Okay.
it's not a microaggression.
You can't change your nature.
Is this Caitlyn Jenner? Is that who they're talking about?
No.
me neither. Let's go on to the next topic.
Yeah.
So Blair White is a trans conservative influencer, and I know you've both had a lot to say about each other over the years. And she is just, to me, a fascinating case study. And so I'm going to show you another small video clip this was from a Vice debate where it was conservative queer people debating progressive queer people. And this is what Blair White had to say at one point about non-binary people.
I think that a large reason why a lot of people do not understand trans people is because of non-binary and because of all these other identities that we've all talked about are constantly tacked onto the acronym that has always worked. Okay.
She says that non-binary people are the reason people don't understand trans people and all of these other identities that have been tacked onto the acronym that before this always worked. There's a lot there. Is there
Basically
any validity
true, though. I
to
think-
that?
I think Blair White's probably correct.
What would lead someone in her position?
Yeah. Well, to an extent. I mean,
Getting,
you know,
probably to I'd say more than a more than unsubstantial extent, right?
Mhm.
Telling people that there are, we got boys and girls like girls and girls like boys. Pretty simple, pretty easy to understand.
Right.
But then we were like, oh, wait, some boys like boys and some girls like girls. All right, there's not that many of them, and it's not a big deal. And we can they're still boys and they're still just girls. And that's pretty simple to understand. That's not a big deal at all. Nice and simple, nice and easy. All right. And then now it's like, well, now the boys and girls part, we need to expand our horizons. And that is understandably a very difficult thing for a lot of people to wrap their heads around, right? A boy liking a boy and a girl liking a girl, pretty simple to understand. But when you start throwing in more than other genders, and this gender isn't a gender, but it's gender, and like, yeah, that's understandably a bridge too far for a lot of people. And it's just stranger. It's just flat out a more strange thing.
yeah. I mean, I think from like an ideological, philosophical perspective, a lot of the non-binary stuff does not actually mesh with a lot of gay and trans acceptance, and it kind of it kind of destroys a lot of what makes the acceptance of those movements like work. However, most people don't care about any of that stuff or think about any of that stuff or have a conversation about any of that stuff. Because like the way that I look at it is basically we sort of had trans.
Go in, Pete. I know not what connection you have with my brother, but it would seem he has trust with you, adventurer. I am Nataka Longhorn and would like to welcome you to Ghostwalker Post. We have many needs of a adventurer. Talk with others. Perhaps there is need of you here. The smell of cooked fish has long been missing here at Ghostwalker Post. The trolls at Shadowprey Village are the best at catching fish. But alas, with all the centaur activities, I have little time to make a journey to the trolls. Do me a favor and journey to Shadowprey Village. Talk to the local fisherman Jinar Zillin and bring me back my favorite bloodbelly fish. The road south of here will take you west to the troll village.
Greetings, adventurer. You bring news from Orgrimmar. That is good. The demon infestation overwhelms this area even more than the smell of centaur dung. The horsemen claim this land as their own, but clearly there are influences out of their control that will crush them if not kept in check. It does not please me that we aid the centaur indirectly, but it is for the good of the horde, so I do my duty for the war chief, even if it means helping the warlocks within the horde.
The Burning Blade have many agendas, but know that they are evil to their core, their spirits corrupted, and their destruction is the only way to thwart their objectives. Keldrin sent Moran with me because of his knowledge of the Blade
And their warlock ways. He has control of our plots against the Blade, while I deal with the other demonic threats here in Desolus. Speak to him, and he will guide you in his designs.
A demon infestation does not occur without other influences. Something else allows evil to gain a foothold. It may start with a weakened spirit, a needless desire for power. Perhaps it's a thirst for revenge, or the appeal for final justice. When we are beset by pain, evil takes advantage of us. Evil such as the satyr. Ties have been made between them and the Burning Blade, and Thrall would have them slain. Seek them out to the northeast of here and return to me when you've driven them back.
Ah, yes. Aid from those loyal to the war chief is always appreciated. My name is Morin. I am here at the behest of Keldrin and the war chief cub Thrall. It is my desire to aid the youngling leader against the evils that threaten his rule. Come closer, adventurer. I shall explain to you my plan for removing the festering boil that is the Burning Blade. Death is most desirable for those despicable creatures that turn their back on their liege for such selfish reasons. But death is not enough when dealing with those that have given themselves over to the darkness. Take this gem. When one of the Burning Blades near death, activate its magic. The spell shall pull the corrupted spirit out of its victim, leaving an infused gem behind. Bring me these infused gems so I may dispose of them properly. Go now, and may you elude death.
You are here on orders from Regthar. Then you are here to deal with the centaur. Good. I hope you're rested. I don't know how our campaign against the centaur will end, but I know the struggle will be long. Have a seat and listen. The Kolkar are not the only centaur of Desolus. Many clans wander these dry plains, fighting and dying against each other, and it is good that they fight among themselves, for they are strong and brutal. If the centaur united against us, they would be a fierce foe. We must deal with them before they unite. Your first task is to disrupt the Kolkar clan. Do this by killing its leader, Khan Deshipa. The Kolkar village is northeast of here. Go, and may fortune go with you.
To beat the centaur, we must use their hatred against them. We will ally with one of the clans, and through them, we will learn how to defeat all the clans. If you choose to ally with the Magram, then slay their foes, the Gelkis. This will earn you respect among the Magram. When you earn enough, then meet with the Magram spokesman Warug on the outskirts of the Magram village in southeast Desolus. To beat the centaur, we must use their hatred against them. We will ally with one of the clans at...
Bibley thinks he's the only goblin in Desolus who knows how to make money. Well, the only caravan brave enough to travel these parts relies on me. Ever since I learned how to rejuvenate and control aged and dying Kodos with my Kodo combobulator, the caravan owner Cork, Rigger, and I entered a partnership. Take the combobulator and use it on any ancient, aged, or dying Kodos. It will jolt the beast into a tamed Kodo and force it to follow you. Once you have a Kodo tamed, bring it back to me.
Acceptance started to happen in the country. You had Caitlyn Jenner, you had Jazz, you had some other things that started to push like the trans acceptance. And then a lot of the non-binary stuff kind of just like snuck under the door with it. And I don't think
now you go
now
on the
the
internet,
pushback,
it hits you like a freight train, and you're like, "What the fuck's going on?" And
yeah, exactly. Right. It snuck under the door, and now it's like, but it's like much larger than the actual trans movement itself was. But I don't think like the backlash against some of the trans stuff has anything to do with the non-binary stuff in terms of people understanding it. I think the backlash is almost all just because of the kids stuff.
Trans and the kids stuff.
Yeah, the kids transitioning stuff. So like if the kids transitioning stuff wasn't happening, I'm not like I would still wouldn't necessarily agree with the non-binary stuff, but I don't think anyone else really cares about it. They just say, "Oh, that's weird," and then they kind of like walk away. So
I don't know that I agree with the scientific understanding of the trans stuff.
Mhm.
But there
You're allowed.
is. What's that?
I said you're allowed.
Well, look, I understand. I at least understand the logic of the argument that they're making, even if I don't agree with their evidence or the science behind it, if you can even call it that.
Yeah.
With the non-binary stuff, I don't even understand the logic. Like I think that is the problem with the non-binary stuff. I think the bar for selling non-binary is, without explaining it in a way that just sounds like fashion, is so high that normal people it's an unsellable product to them. So I do think it hurts the credibility of the trans stuff, which, I mean, there's this whole idea of, you're born in the wrong body, you have
that's still working within like
brain.
a two-gender sort of paradigm that civilization has known since essentially its inception. I'm a boy, but I'm going to like essentially be a girl for the purposes of my interaction with society. It's how I feel and want to be accepted as and all that stuff.
Well, and maybe I have a brain that's the opposite sex. There's
I'm just wired a bit. I was like, I've got this hardware and this software, but it's
logic
all male, female.
You can follow. Yes.
Yeah.
What is the logic of non-binary now, Red?
Spirits be with you, man. Bye-bye now.
Thanks.
It seems to be like, I don't know. I think you calling it like an aesthetic kind of thing, a trendy thing, kind of rings really true in a lot of cases. Where it's like, I don't even know. Like, I totally buy there's trans people, of course, and there's gay people, straight people, yeah, pretty clear. But it's like, I'm a neither a male nor a female. I'm like my own thing over here. I'm like, I don't even know if I buy that.
Yeah, it's like, what is going on here? How do I understand this from a scientific perspective? And I just think that is the bar that people are encountering. And a lot of people, obviously, if you're in this and you just accept it because it's a social thing and everyone is doing it, you don't need to understand the logic or the science of it. But most people are not in this club. So there's like, explain it to me. Explain this to me like I'm 2 years old. And they just can't.
And I have a general political and philosophical and moral disposition such that if you want to, I don't have to agree or understand or really know what a non-binary really is. But man, if you're over there doing your thing and you want to be non-binary and you're just having a great time, man, go for it, man. My inner libertarian blesses you. Go about your merry way and enjoy yourself.
Well, I totally agree on that level. But the problem is when you want to come in and say, look, there's a truth claim here that
you
we
have
can
to call me
study.
this. You have to call me this thing.
Then I'm like, okay, well, let's look at that truth claim. Let's examine it. Let's study it. But you can't.
Yep.
As a trans woman to feel that way.
Is there any validity to it? No.
Right.
What would lead someone to feel that way? Well, I think it's a combination of incentives to think this way. I think that in a way it's a way of like defending yourself psychologically, because at the moment there's a massive amount of animosity being directed at LGBT people and at trans people in particular. And when you have, you know, very prominent political figures, Ron DeSantis, you know, Christopher Rufo, etc., saying loudly and publicly that trans people are groomers or pedophiles, the shame and the stigma of that is a lot to deal with psychologically. So I think one thing that people do is that it's almost like trying to reassure yourself, oh, they're not really talking about me. Of course, this has, you know, I'm not really the object of this scorn. It's because of the non-binary people. That's why they're confused, right? It's them. And then you can sort of reposition yourself where you're on the side of the accuser instead of on the side of the accused. And
But see, we're already drawing sides. We're already bringing up the tribes, right? I think a lot of trans people, gay people, bisexual, whatever, I think they're fucking cringe as hell, and I don't like being lumped into that group, right? So I don't like that, and I'm not going to draw up these lines of that just because I don't like a lot of the social stuff or the aesthetics of whatever. That doesn't mean I'm on the straights side now. That's not how this works.
You're betraying your kind. What do you mean?
Yeah,
it's
gays
like your
against
kind, my
groomers
kind,
going
your
after
kind.
non-binary people. Like, she just so casually throws out the groomer people, the people labeling people groomers are going after non-binary people. That seems ridiculous to me.
I thought the gays against groomers usually, I don't know about non-binary stuff. They're usually doing like, I thought the anti-transing the kids was like,
Yeah,
the topic
they're
that they
talking about political activists in the classroom. The fact
Oh
that
wait,
she
no,
doesn't.
here we go. Gays against groomers is probably what they're referring to. This is from, I do remember this. Gays against groomers tweeted out, beloved children's show Paw Patrol has created a non-binary character. The episode was, of course, written by none other than Queer Kid Stuff host Lynn
Oh,
Zamer.
I haven't heard that name in a while.
I know. Who we recently did a radar watch list report on.
But
So
that makes my point. That they're not attacking non-binary people. They're attacking purveyors of the ideology.
Right. Well, let me keep reading the tweet because I think this kind of elucidates this. If you actually look at the character in the show, she's clearly just a tomboy. This is an example of the gender cult's attempts to transition and recruit into their ideology. It's sad and infuriating. Tomboys are perfect as they are and don't need to identify as anything else. Gender non-conforming children are not trans or non-binary. Hashtag save the tomboy.
Any physical movement that lowers the number of tomboys in the world is morally evil and should be eradicated.
Is that your favorite subclass of women?
That's like burning the Mona Lisa.
Again, I still feel like they're going
that.
after the teachers, the purveyors of the ideology, and not the non-binary people.
The problem is that there's a bunch of things going on here because, as I said, the non-binary ideology destroys a lot of the ideology of what's going on with children transitioning and with gender and gay acceptance. And I think that Blair, who engages in all these conversations, and the gays against groomers people that engage in all these conversations, that's where their headspace is because they know that these contradictions exist. However, I don't think that the average person knows or cares that those contradictions exist. So that's not what's motivating their behavior. I think it's more just the children stuff.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you. But she's making it seem like the gays against groomers are attacking non-binary people. And I'm saying they're not saying non-binary people are pedophiles. They're saying that people who are introducing children to this ideology are
bad.
groomers.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Are grooming them for an ideology.
Yes, right. Because their view is that, you know, they're gay, right? And they're viewing that, well, they're tomboys or effeminate gay men, and essentially society or these quote groomers are basically tricking them into transitioning their sex to, as opposed to just being, you know, lesbian or gay.
Right. Yes.
So.
That's the perception. But I don't know that Contra or the host understands that.
Well, I'm sure they've heard that argument. They just don't even want to, I guess they don't accept it, and they don't want to even give it any space to even debate it at all, whether it's like valid or not.
Right.
So
I think that sort of helps with the anxiety of, you know, this environment of bigotry. So that's definitely that's one psychological factor. Another, I think, is more material. I think that when you're talking about commentators and influencers, it sounds like kind of a cheap accusation to be like, oh, they're just doing it for money. But also, like, I don't know, influencers are often motivated by what is a financially viable position to advocate for, and there's always going to be a job opening for a queer person who wants to talk about how homophobia is gay people's fault, right?
Totally.
Like, there's always going to be people who are going to pay to hear you say that, and so there's always going to be some cynical person who's going to come along and be willing to perform that part.
I don't think that's how audience capture works. I think audience capture works is that people are operating in a space that they are saying things that they truly believe. They grow an audience around that, and then they become afraid to kind of move away or against the views of the audience. But there's still a core that they agree with there. Because I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Agree.
Like I don't think Blair White or a gay or trans person is going to sit around saying, the way for me to make money is to try to fit this incredibly niche area of being like an accepted by conservatives, conservative gay trans person. Like that's the dumbest way to make money. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like Blair White would make crap tons of money being, super wokey. Like none of this makes any sense.
At some point, homophobia is gay people's fault, though. Like, you can't just say categorically homophobia is never gay people's fault. Like, there's a point, right?
What is the context of your statement? Because it's going to be taken wildly out of context. So
look,
give me something specific.
If gay people gain political power and make straight marriage illegal, people are going to hate gay people.
Sure, but that doesn't really seem to be on the table, right?
Well, look, a lot of people, the gay pride stuff happens every year, and a lot of people are saying, look, this is getting more and more pornographic, right? Yeah. If gay pride gets so pornographic that they're literally having gay sex in the street in front of children, I think the homophobia is going to be off the charts. And ContraPoints can no longer sit on our comfy podcast couch and say, look, it's the homophobia is not our fault, right? At some point, you have to take responsibility for your community.
Sure.
So, like, okay. You disagree?
I do agree that that's the bridge between trying to, quote, assimilate into, normative values and, quote, being your authentic self. You have to find the golden mean there between the two.
Yeah, you can't. There has to be some sort of compromise here, and I don't like this. We're starting the conversation with our community can do no wrong.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with the. First of all, I think your phrasing is bad. You shouldn't phrase it the way you did because it's going to sound like victim blaming. But I do agree, and I think what's going on is that, like, for example, there's lots of guys out there, straight men out there, who would love to like fuck women in public. And just be like disgusting.
Oh yeah, voyeurism and exhibitionism. Yeah, those are high tier fetishes.
Right, and so
high tier.
There you go. Rags
those are patrician tier fetishes.
Okay, he's one of them.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that basically our society for thousands of years has said, listen, you shouldn't men shouldn't just be fucking women in public. That's degenerate. And everyone kind of just said, okay, fine.
Yeah, okay, fine. Exactly.
Right. But then suddenly it gets lumped into like queerness and being gay, and it's like, oh well, now it's a revolutionary action, right?
How come having sex in the street with animal masks is now an inherently like left political thing?
It becomes a moral action, even though everyone agreed that it was like not like it's bad. And if straight people are doing it, it's bad. But if queer people are doing it, it suddenly becomes magically good. And it's just because so much of, and this is something that I think Contra and other people have to. to accept. A lot of queer theory and a lot of queer aesthetic is to just be counter whatever the normative values are.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, you gotta, at some point, you have to take responsibility. You can't just blame the other.
Yeah, there is an element of introspection on how you behave that you should take into account. Not every problem comes from without.
Sure.
There is a way that you could like moderate yourself. I mean, everyone has to do it. This is not a thing that is exclusive to one sexuality or identity over another. Literally every fucking human being has to moderate the way that they behave when they're in public. My naked chair is in my house. It's not outside of my house. All right. The
Put
way
it
that
on
I
the front
behave,
lawn.
the way that I behave in the privacy of my own home is not the way that I behave in public, and I'm not going to cry foul because of that. I'm glad that's the case because I don't want to be subject to all the weird shit people do in private and when I go out in public, right?
Yeah.
Just because you can't behave the way you want to behave out in public, that doesn't mean it's necessarily some kind of oppressive thing.
Sure.
Well, I hear gay people sometimes talk about the propriety of the Gay Pride Month and Pride parades and stuff like that. And a lot of times they're just shouted down by other people. And I feel so bad for them because they're trying to address this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny because the whole like doing open sex stuff at Pride is kind of, I would argue, is a form of misogyny, because I think it's women that really like temper guys' sex, like being disgusting sex perverts, especially in public.
I 100% agree.
Oh my god, there's just like no limit. Like when it's a guy's sexuality and a guy's sexuality meeting together, and they're all for it, and they just go on.
There's no breaks, just gas.
There's just no breaks on this crazy train, man.
Because like we could all imagine, like if hypothetically there were no women and all guys were just gay, like I'm pretty sure society would be very different in terms of like guys would be just fucking each other in public like constantly, and like I'm like whatever.
It would probably just be more normal. There's a general feminine approach to sex, it seems, that is a lot more reserved and tempered,
selective and tempered.
Yeah, than men. Men are just all for it. Yeah, men are just horny fuckers.
Women in the Pride movement have to be like, listen, you misogynist, keep your dick in your pants. Okay.
It's interesting because I wonder if the part of this problem is that they've kicked all the gay conservatives out of the movement, because that
100%.
That would have been a tempering force.
Yes,
in terms of their appearance.
exactly. The propriety of the gay pride stuff might be more to the heterosexual community's liking if they actually had those gay conservatives involved.
Yeah, well, it's like colleges. Like they didn't kick them out, but for whatever reason, a lot of college professors it wasn't a profession that was attracting conservatives. And if you have any area that's not attracting like conservatives or progressives, one side is going to basically slowly dominate, that ideology.
Long ago, a dwarf came to this
and
land.
their aesthetic,
His name
their
was
ethic is going to prevail.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like at this point, Blair White has helped carve out this like actual field in a certain part of conservative media that like you see more and more queer people occupying, which is the conservative queer influencer, which is, there's Blair White, there's Ariel Scarcella, there's Christian Walker, this boy on TikTok, this like...
This is so compromise here. So disgusting,
isn't it?
They're not addressing any of their reasoning for being in the position that they're in. They're just attributing it all to like a aesthetic grift.
Yeah.
What?
And like, I don't know about the other one, but Arya Scarcella was very motivated by, she's
a
lesbian. And
yes.
she's like, I feel like a lot of lesbians are basically falling down in the rabbit hole of transitioning when they don't need to and regretting it. And that's kind of what's motivating her. And this kind of reminds me of, when we covered the Blair White versus Jonathan Doyle, Caitlin Borshenko.
Oh, that was a good one. That was a crazy.
And the Lauren Witzke, is that her name? Lauren Witzke debate. Yeah, yes. Lauren Witzke and Jonathan Doyle versus Blair White and Carlin Borshenko. And in that debate, it's like insane because like Lauren Witzke is like she becomes like the preacher at the pulpit, like thumping her Bible and telling Blair she's gonna like burn in hellfire for 1,000 years. And so many people on the left, the reaction to that is, oh my God, Blair White is such a disgusting sellout. She lets this horrible right-wing bigot just, thump her Bible and it's shit all over Blair, and Blair just takes it and she looks so weak and pathetic. Blah, blah. They're just going on and on and on about how awful Blair was. And I don't remember who I was talking to. It might have been Doomer, it might have been someone else who was more on the left. And I was like, have you ever looked at the comment section of that video? Because if you look at it, it's just nothing but conservatives talking about how bad they feel for Blair and how disgusted they are with Lauren.
Yeah,
and that's what all the comments are. And it's like they just completely misunderstand that, like, no, like Blair's existence actually does help your movement.
Massively. It creates empathy from the conservatives. Yeah.
Yes.
It humanizes them.
Yeah. And it shows that like not every person who is gay or trans is like buys into all of the rest of the ideology.
Yeah.
That you like this is one of the things that I want to ask, someone like Sam or someone else in the future is like, what part of trans issues are you allowed to disagree with without being labeled a transphobe? Because it seems like the answer is like you have to buy this entire package or none of it.
Unfortunate.
Insufferable Twink Clarkson Lawson, who they all make the same videos, which is that they just go on and they're like, well, maybe if trans activists and non-binary pronoun people, blue hair, yada, yada, weren't so crazy, they'd finally start accepting us, you guys. And it's like they amass these really big audiences immediately. And also they immediately get put on like Newsmax.
I don't know. It's like, I'm sorry that your reaction to someone telling you to chill the fuck out is like incredible revulsion and disgust and like disbelief. But I don't know. It's the kind of thing that a lot of people learn at a pretty early age. It's never too late, you know, to learn to temper your behavior and have some introspection. But might as well start now, you know? Might as well start today.
Their
And they get
feelings are
these
hurt.
like primetime specials where they're like, so it's true, like homophobia doesn't really exist in 2023. And they're like, yes, Tucker, that's true. And that's why I made the joke at the beginning where it's
I'm
like,
sure there's some
I
out
don't
there.
actually think for these people, for these specific like commentators and influencers, it is cheap to be like, well, they're just doing it for money. I think I think like you said, there's a number of psychological reasons why you might want to believe that. Because like you said in one of your videos, you know,
Well, they
pointing the
believe
finger
it,
away
maybe.
from yourself and at like the weird or queer people, it you know, it takes the blame off you.
No, but that might be valid. The blame might not be on you. It might be the freak standing next to you fucking in public that is standing next to you that might be the issue. Whenever there's an issue, like in general in life, it costs you nothing to begin by looking inwards, right? It costs you nothing to just say, you know, let's see, is this problem that I'm facing because of me? Could I do something to alleviate this? Is this coming from my own behavior or any action that I'm taking? Or is it coming from outside? Because it might be coming from outside. That's very possible. A lot of problems are. But maybe it isn't. And it costs you nothing to have that little bit of introspection. And it builds up a really healthy mental habit for you as well.
It's like the witch trials. You just pass along the blame and the shame and the accusation. But also, there's like a pretty well-defined route to like having a primetime right-wing media show at this point as a queer person.
Yeah.
Why?
Caitlyn
Would that
Jenner
be?
did it.
Will we explore that?
That's a start.
Well, because
Maybe they
they're
don't
not-
actually have a problem with the identity. It's the behavior and the crazy beliefs of people who might have that identity. And if a lot of people who have that identity often have those beliefs and those behaviors, then maybe there will be a correlation that is not necessarily causative.
Well, I do think, obviously, there are a lot more gay people on the left, which means it's going to be a lot more competitive for being entertaining to have a show and whatnot. And if there's less gay people on the right, and that's something people want,
Yeah,
a show.
it does make you stand out. There is an element of, you know, there's an element of, for lack of a better term, I'm the gay one.
But
It
I
does
think-
make you stand apart.
I think the thing that they're missing, though, is I don't think you can. Well, I guess you can to some extent, but I think it's not something you can do indefinitely. I don't think you can fake like being a conservative. I think sooner or later, people can tell if you're
They figure it
authentically
out.
conservative or not. Yeah, exactly. Do you?
It
look,
takes
there-
a special kind of person to really go through 100% with that kind of charade.
Look, I never thought Hunter Avalon was conservative. Like, I never really felt like he was authentically conservative in any
Really?
way. I felt like he was just putting on an act. Yeah, exactly.
I
Look,
never
I
got
do,
that, but-
I do look at people, and sometimes I think, oh, this person. I mean, I could be wrong, but Hunter Avalon is an interesting case because then he was like, oh, I'm not conservative anymore. I'm going to totally flip my politics, which makes me think, okay, well, I never thought you were conservative to begin with. So that seems like an easy move to make. But you understand what I'm saying. They think that there is no such thing as a gay conservative. They're like, there's gay people, there's gay leftists that act as though they're conservative to grift. That's the world that they live in. Which is just
they're
it's a
looking
weird
at
thing.
it from the perspective of, you know, we're looking at it from the perspective of like people have these kind of political moral intuitions, which they're kind of a large extent born with.
Yes.
And then people kind of slot into various political parties based off of it. I
Yes.
think, I mean, they're not looking at it from that perspective. They're looking at it from the perspective of just like, no, people just are like these rational actors that are like, you know, well, I guess, I mean,
you mean
Contra said irrational,
progressives.
so that's not true. But like that people are just like making some either rational or irrational decision about like what political identity they
You are a savior, adventurer. These bloodbelly fish look almost good enough to eat raw. Here you go. Choose one of these items as a payment for these fish.
want to fit into,
To
when I
pick,
don't
yes.
think that's how that works at all.
And if they're rational, they pick progressive, and if they're irrational, they pick conservative.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the lens that they laid out early on.
Yes, yeah.
Stone that, you know, we're not going to leave unturned in this episode either. But the other thing I wanted to bring up with Blair White was her Blair White's pinned tweet right now that's pinned to her profile for the last several months is a selfie of her looking hot. She looks great. She's wearing a bikini. She's serving cunt.
Is she wearing a bikini?
And the replies, there are 5,000 replies.
Oh, I guess I missed
Mostly
it.
There was a picture on the screen, Rags. What are you doing?
Go back. I don't. No. I was looking at the picture. I didn't. Could you go back?
There it is.
Where's the big? I'm missing something here. Where is the bikini?
You don't see Blair White in a
you-
bikini?
yeah,
there?
I see Blair White, but I don't see the bikini.
What is she's wearing a, what do you call that? The camo out bathing suit?
Oh, is it camouflaged?
Is she like
Oh,
is she like
I
melding into the
see.
wall or something?
No,
like
I see.
what's
That was
happening?
camouflage.
Is this a
I didn't-
joke?
You could
I
see
didn't,
it.
notice,
You
I
could
didn't
see
notice it because
He
it was
was-
Are you
camouflaged.
making?
I
Are
see-
you
I see
making
what
a
it is.
camo
Yeah,
joke?
he-
It was.
could-
It was really good. I'm sorry. Carry on. My eyes aren't that good.
No, he
I guess I
just-
just didn't notice.
Yeah,
the
he saw all
camouflage
he
there.
saw was just like a wall with lips and eyes and a gun. And
Yeah,
he's
I was
like,
just
"What's going on
confused.
here?"
I wasn't gonna say anything until someone had mentioned it, but
Okay.
that's just really seemed really weird to me.
Right.
But yeah, no, I understand now. We can.
Are they objecting? Are they objecting to the gun?
Well, so the original, okay, so the tweet was that Blair White put this out. It says, if you see a bulge in a conservative woman's pants, it's a gun. If you see a bulge in a liberal woman's pants, it's a penis.
Right.
And of course, the irony is that Blair White has a penis. So, but that's obviously the part of the joke of the tweet.
Does Blair White have a penis? Is that?
I believe
Oh.
so. Yes.
Okay.
Damn, nice tuck
I
work
mean-
there.
It's a pretty good tuck work. Yeah.
Yeah, bravo to you, good lady.
She looks great. She's
Noble
wearing a
maiden.
bikini. She's serving cunt. And the replies, there are 5,000 replies, mostly from conservative men who are arguing with each other about whether or not it is gay that they find her hot.
They don't
It
even
is
mention
not
the gun.
gay that you find her hot.
They don't. First of all, there's nothing wrong with arguing over whether or not it's gay to find her hot. Like, what is
Don't you
wrong
want
with that?
well, don't you want those conservatives to? Don't you want them to have that discussion? This is where it begins, guys. When you start finding trans people hot, that's the
Right.
gateway drug.
And what is? Hold on. What is so offensive about having that conversation? Why is that an
Nothing.
offensive
I don't know what these
conversation?
people want.
That's so weird. They don't look. They don't even mention the gun once. The first 20 minutes of this,
It's a
they
basic bitch
couldn't-
AR-15.
They
at
couldn't
me.
start. They couldn't start. They couldn't stop talking about the guns. She's got a giant gun in her hand. They don't even bring it up.
Well,
I don't.
it's because. Okay, well let them play first before I.
Yeah. Okay. What's wrong? What's wrong with this?
I want to get into that
conversation?
conversation. But the conversation that I do find fascinating is like, Blair, like beyond money, what is in this for you? Because
Oh
isn't that
God forbid she
humiliating?
believes it.
Well, it's being a pick me girl, pure and simple.
Oh no,
Like,
it can't be that. It can't be a belief.
There's any number of cis women that do an equivalent thing, right? And there's again incentives to do this. If you're willing to sacrifice a certain level of self-respect, if you're willing to make yourself a little bit smaller and put up with,
Because remember, if you're trans but you have a lot of conservative opinions and the other side fucking hates your guts, so you hang out with conservatives, you're making yourself smaller. You're getting rid of a part of yourself, even if it's things that you earnestly believe, because that's just beyond the pale. It couldn't be that Blair just, dare we say, disagrees with you.
Right.
No. She might be someone who shares an identity element with you, who doesn't think like you do. It's like those pesky Republicans who are black. Oh, aren't they the worst?
3, 4, and 5. Excellent. I asked for 5 tamed kodos, and I get 5 tamed kodos. I am going to be rich. Yes, very rich. I hope to see the look on Bibley's green face when he hears about my success.
Christ.
And it's kind of weird too because, you know, Contra's talking about like, well, you know, Blair doesn't have self-respect here. And it's like, well, wait a minute. If you have a bunch of conservatives who in normal situations would say, ew, trans people are all icky and gross and they're disgusting. And how now you have Blair here who is basically creating an argument where a bunch of people are like, well, I mean, I know I'm straight, but I'm not that straight, right? Or there's some, is it gay? Like, isn't that actually helping the cause? How's that
Yeah,
not
this is
helping
how
the
you
cause?
start the conversation. There is a person, it's biologically a male, yet how come my pee-pee hard? We need to be talking about this, guys.
Right,
This is
yeah.
unprecedented.
Right. So it seems like it should be helping. Contra should
Absolutely,
be
it should be helping. They should be thanking her.
Yes. But no.
More humiliation. There's also a kind of reward that comes with it. I think that, you know, just to talk about, you know, women as an analogous case, I think that a large percentage of women go through some stage in their life of enthusiastically endorsing the male point of view because it's easy, right? We're all kind of
The male
raised
point
in,
of view.
you know, you
that
go to
point
school
of
and you read
view.
a bunch of books.
What is that?
You know
even
how
mean?
those males have that one point of view?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, Rags. I'm so offended by that all the time. It's like, what the hell? Imagine if we started talking about the women's point of view.
You know how women are.
All the same. Yeah, women. Those emotional, bad at math women. Can't drive women, right? That women
True.
point of view.
True.
I
Look,
just hate
it's
the
so
way that all men
sexist.
think of women.
Yeah, but
that's all I'm saying.
But ContraPoints is allowed to get away with it. Ridiculous.
Endorsing the male point of view because it's easy, right? We're all kind of raised in, you know, you go to school and you read a bunch of books by men that show the male perspective, and men have generally
Karl
more power
Marx
than women.
and Arthur C. Clarke, basically the same perspective.
Well, they're all male, so.
I mean, I've never read a book by a woman before.
That's true.
They actually write books? Come on, guys.
And the left finally found a book written by a woman that they can quote endlessly, and it turns out it's, well, not the right kind of woman.
I'm kidding. I've read lots of books by women, so
Ew.
I'm always amazed that they're good.
Coincidental.
Women, and there's a huge historical precedent for that. So I think, and men praise you, and men like it when you validate their way of seeing and you don't challenge them, and you don't make demands, and you don't stand up for yourself, and you don't be difficult, right? So much of this
Women
has to do
love
with
difficult
whether
men.
it's difficult, right? It is difficult for white people.
Yeah, men hate difficult women. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Now, what's she gonna say about white people? Oh, those pesky whites, always generalizing.
Are
Ugh.
we on the white people train now?
I hate how white people always generalize. It really bugs me.
I had no idea this got this painful.
Of course.
This is already horrible.
Time for the pesky whites, Adam.
Please make it stop,
The
Sid.
pesky whites. Okay, listen, they don't want any of these uppity women and non-whites. Okay.
That'd be a good rename, rebrand. The Pesky White Podcast.
Oh yeah, that is a good name. I like it.
Yeah,
Oh,
the old P-dubs. Yeah.
Well, that sounds a little like a pedo. So I don't know about that.
We'll rebrand at $2.99 so we don't have to do a 300th episode.
There you go.
So
perfect.
I think, and men praise you, and men like it when you validate their way of seeing, and you don't challenge them, and you don't make demands, and you don't stand up for yourself, and you don't be difficult, right? So much of this has to do with
I like
whether
that,
it's
though.
difficult.
So I guess
right?
I'm a bad
It is
man.
difficult for white people to hear that racism is real
White
and an
people.
ongoing problem, and something that they might have to deal with, and something that they might themselves be participating in.
Yeah,
it's
those
difficult.
whites.
Well, it is difficult when you
Those whites.
don't actually give us any evidence for this claim.
Well, it's sad because there was a time period where Contra was pretty moderate.
Less
And it seems
racist?
like Yeah, and now, and it seems like now that's gone completely out the window, and we've kind of adopted this like very woke white people just can't accept their racism like nonsense attitude.
Right, yeah.
It's sad.
It is sad.
But you know what? I'll do her the service by not accusing her of being a grifter.
Well, you should, but
Yeah. I'm not going that far, Rags. It sounds like you're on your own on this one. I mean, at some level, you got to wonder, right? If you move from someone who tries to be somewhat intellectually honest to someone who just embraces whatever your audience wants, you got to kind of wonder, right? I mean, just a little bit, Sitch.
I don't think it's a grift. I think it's just the radicalization.
That's what I'm saying, but
of
I
being
won't
in
say
that
it's a
space.
grift. I'm going to do her a service she would not give to other people.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I don't
Yeah.
care if she thinks we're grifting. I have like,
Yeah,
I'm
her opinion is
fine.
like worthless to me. I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
There's not someone who I take seriously in any way. This is
Yeah,
a
I'm comfortable in my own authenticity. Okay, I'm not
Yeah.
too worried about it here. I'm just.
I don't
saying.
actually require the validation of internet weirdos.
Yes.
Okay, bigot.
Well,
I think our picture of reality is much clearer, and
Of
I
course it
do
is.
think ContraPoints at one point shared that perspective.
Yes.
And didn't think, you know, all gay conservatives are just grifting. That position does seem tailor-made for an audience that wants to hear it.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
For men to hear that misogyny exists and that some of their attitudes towards women are actually really toxic
What
and,
a woman hate to hear.
and
Say it, do it.
damaging and bigoted. It's difficult for straight people
What do
or
blacks
cis
hate to
people to hear that they have, you know, that their point of view is homophobic. So if you can kind of flatter these kind of basic prejudices, people find that comforting, I think, right? So, you know, if you can
look, if you agree with somebody because you think that they're right, you're flattering their prejudices.
Yeah.
I can't wait to flatter someone's prejudices. Every day, you want to flatter at least one prejudice.
How dishonest is that? How dishonest is that? Do you think Contra really thinks that's all that's going on here?
Yes.
At one point, ContraPoints understood that there were ideological differences between the left and the right. I mean,
that time has passed.
There were videos about it, though. Are you saying that ContraPoints now just has changed?
You know, like Lord of the Rings, where like Galadriel's like, the world has changed.
Right.
That's where we are.
So the world changed. ContraPoints didn't change.
No, ContraPoints has changed. ContraPoints has just become in this. ContraPoints has been surrounded by basically leftists for so long that have been attacking it for so long. It's funny. I feel like a lot of this is projection. I feel like a lot of this is that she basically gave up her opinion to the crazy left people that wouldn't leave her alone.
Right. She's given in to the mob. The mob said, "No, this is what we believe."
Yeah, that's how it reads to me.
She's Captain Picard. She's saying, "Oh no, there's 3 lights. Yeah, whatever you say. 2 light. How many lights you want?"
5 lights. Yes. Yeah, she's saying that there's 5 lights, and clearly there isn't. So.
Hey, we've been
Right.
looking for one of you 3-lighters on our cool Romulan podcast.
First of all, Cardassian.
Cardassian, sorry.
How
Whatever
dare-
else. Can...
Is it 4? Is it actually 4 lights, and they're trying to get him to say 5?
Yes.
Okay, I'll remember
Or is it
next
3?
time.
I forget.
thought it
I
was
forget.
I know.
Somebody
there
has
are
to
4,
know this.
There are 4 lights. Is what? How many lights there actually are?
Right.
Yeah.
And they want him to say how many? They keep telling him the wrong number, though.
Yeah, I keep telling the wrong number. I don't remember if it's 3 or 5.
Contra has given in
I
to
think
the
it's 5.
Cardassians. It's the Cardassians that are doing this 4-light thing?
It's the Cardassians.
Right.
It's the Kim Cardassians who
It's
are doing
right.
it.
Classic.
They captured
Kim
Patrick
Kardashian.
Stewart and they brought him to their sex dungeon.
ContraPoints
And they
is-
want to.
I mean,
they're
he is
like, we
tied up
heard that you
naked.
can count to 5. We
He
need
is
you to
tied
help
up
us learn
naked,
how to count
so-
to 5.
Yeah, that's essentially what's going on.
ContraPoints has given in to the Kim Cardassians of the world.
It's 5 lights. Yeah. Okay. Hey, look, it's Dev. Hey, Dev.
Hi, Dev.
Hi, Dev.
What's up, Dev?
I watched Dev talk to a 19-year-old socialist the other day. It was entertaining.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the Wix TV's channel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The debate about
That
was it free speech debate, right?
Yeah, sometimes it veered into that topic. Yeah.
Who debated what on Wix TV?
Dev debated.
Dev had a chat with a gentleman, a young gentleman who learned, I think, a lot about the world.
Sweet. I think I saw that. Dev just talked to Wix, right? It wasn't a panel or anything?
No, it was just Dev debating this one person.
Oh, okay, cool. Maybe I haven't seen it.
No. JMac for $20, our surrogate father. Thanks so much. I think JMac gave us 50 gifted memberships. Thanks.
Yo, JMac, what a hero. Oh, and while it's on my mind, sorry, I accidentally timed out someone. It was an accident.
Yes, you did. Lived in Dev's wall. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Lives in Dev's walls specifically is the name of the gentleman who gave a $5 super chat. I'm sorry. I clicked on the message up top and then it put it in the chat. And I was like, oh, okay, I want this to go away now. And so I dragged the mouse down. Like I clicked on the chat and then I dragged the mouse down to click on the normal chat to make it go away, but it like lagged and then it showed the timeout option like right as I was clicking away from it and it timed you out. So accidental ban. There you go.
A likely story.
Yeah,
I've done my due diligence.
I feel like we have Jamal Bowman here on the live stream talking about what this seems like a likely story here.
I don't know who this Jamal Bone Man is, but
you timed him out trying to open a door, huh? That's
you know how they're doing like the government shutdown stuff on Saturday? Do you follow politics at all? I know we talked about it, but I don't know if you
I don't really follow politics that much. A little bit.
Jamal Bowman is a congressman who pulled a fire alarm to open an exit, and no one believes it.
Well, no. The question is, he says he pulled the fire alarm to open this door. He didn't realize it was fire alarm, and they're saying he pulled the fire alarm to delay a vote in Congress.
Right. There's two conflicting narratives going on right now.
That's a dumb thing to do because they'll just come back and do the vote later. It's not
Says
like, well,
the guy who just timed out.
He supposedly he wanted to just make it slow down the vote so that they had time to read the bill or something. That's the claim.
Oh, okay. So. What a noble hero.
Yeah.
Hold on. Who's saying what's that narrative?
That would be the explanation of why he wanted to slow the vote down.
Did he say he wanted to slow the vote down?
No,
I heard he was trying to get to the vote.
He's saying it's an accident. He's sticking by it. It is an accident, which seems unlikely to me. I don't know.
Wait, he says it's an accident?
Yeah. He said he was trying to open a door.
How do you accidentally pull a fire?
How do you accidentally time out Dave's?
You know when you see like the door that's got like the handicap thing, it's got the button on the side? He thought it was a handicap door.
Yeah, that's a lie, and I don't believe him for one goddamn second because those big ass buttons have the handicap man on them. And the fire alarms, they're red and white and they're clearly marked. Don't fucking pull unless there's a fire, retard.
Yeah, but there's a sign. There's a sign on the door that says if the fire alarm is pulled, the door will open in 30 seconds.
This is a sign. This is a sign that our schools have failed.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
oh wow. Hey, what's up, Dev?
Hi. I was summoned by a few people apparently.
So
nice.
Firstly, you guys need to fucking understand. It's the Cardassian Union. And it was Gull Madred, and it was 5 lights.
Well, first of all, I know the guy's fucking name. Jesus Christ.
How many lights did they want him to say? 4?
They want him to say 5. There were 4 lights, and they wanted him to say 5. Yeah.
And they wanted him to say there were 4 lights. They wanted him to say 5.
Lights.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it wait? The Cardassian Union? That's not the name of it. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, the government is called the Cardassian Union.
Okay. I've never heard.
And the species are the Cardassians.
Well, I know that. I've never heard them say the Cardassian Union.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're like a fascist state.
Yeah,
Dev, how long are you going to stick around?
Successful. That is good. Give me the gems, and I shall put them someplace safe. My tasks for you are complete, adventurer. Speak to Takata when you are rested. He may have other tasks for you, or perhaps needs you to return to Orgrimmar to inform Keldron of our progress here in Desolus. These runes are indeed a language, adventurer, an old language. They seem remotely similar to the Eridan language, but the differences are drastic. If I am not mistaken, this is a contract of some kind. Here, yes, this symbol is the demon's signature, Lord Azrithok.
I believe I can find this demon lord given the proper reagents. If he is indeed as powerful as I suspect, I will need items gathered from deadly creatures. But you act in the war chief's name, so I'm sure you will accept my task. First, I will have to break any wards he has against scrying. For this, I will need the scalp from a satyr, but not any satyr. The scalp must come from a hate fury shadow stalker. Search for them among the ancient ruins in the northeast of Desolus.
Just so I know, like sometimes you drop in just for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll be here for just a couple minutes this time because I heard that from a few people that Sitch was talking shit.
Was he?
Sitch, was it Sitch or Adam? Which one of you two was it?
No. Okay. So Adam was saying, so Rags is going to come on. So Adam was like, wow, I wish we had a bisexual person here, friend of the show, to come on and talk to us. So everyone in the chat was speculating that it must either be Rags or you.
Oh, okay.
Right.
We have a large pool of.
No, we do. Well, our audience does have a lot of LGBT.
No, so somebody
friendly.
asked. I don't
Friends of
remember
the
why.
gays.
Yeah.
I said, is Dev even bi? I don't know if Dev's bi.
Yes.
And then, well, okay, I guess you've answered the question. And then Adam said, has Dev ever given a blowjob? Because that would be the answer to the question.
No,
that the
if he
answer to
gave
the
a
question?
blowjob and that's how he discovered he hated it, then he wouldn't
That's
be
true.
bisexual. He'd just be a brave straight
Oh, that's
man.
a great point. Yeah,
That's a good point.
that's
Yeah.
a great
So,
point.
someone in the chat.
Not me, though. I
Zero
love 'em.
Fucks. Zero Fuck says, what about the one drop rule? Okay, so I was on the Archcast
One drop of
last
cum?
night.
I know, what is the one drop rule?
If you swallow
Okay.
one drop of that cum, you are gay.
So I was on the Archcast last night, and it was Arch and V and me were the three hosts of that show, right? And their audiences are significantly more right wing than mine is. Like, they're more right wing than me, but their audiences are even more right wing than them, right? And they have a very strange view of bisexuality in that they don't think it exists.
Oh,
and they
so
think
they're retarded.
they think it's just the one drop rule of sexuality, where like a guy could have sex with hundreds or thousands of women, but if he has sex with one man, he's gay.
Well, that's dumb though.
Because
you can like
apparently
both.
because being gay overrides everything else. Because
Well, no, I think you can be
being
gay.
is like an action, and if you
Look, you
perform the
can-
action, you're the thing.
You can be gay and never have sex with a guy, though. You could just want to have
Yeah.
sex with a guy. Yeah.
Sure, but I think they're all like virtue ethicists over there. So what you do is what actually
You're being
is.
very kind by saying that this is virtue ethicism
I know.
and not profound mental retardation.
It is pretty retarded.
We're not
actually,
retarded.
yes.
We're virtue ethicists.
Well, yeah, how about this? How about this?
Wait, how many people are bi and they just have sex with just one sex? Is that like a really common thing?
It's probably common enough that like you have bi people who only end up getting into straight relationships just because there's not that many gay people. That's probably pretty common. At least it was before.
Surely you
you know,
can't
before
force
2015.
yourself into liking dick, right?
I
guess maybe if you're a
assume?
top and you just start, you can be aloof. Maybe you can be an aloof top, and you can pretend that it's a woman's butt.
I guess. I
Yeah.
would guess, yeah.
You could be like a Greek straight, where as long as you're just topping guys and not bottoming for them, then you're still straight.
I'm still straight, guys. I just
call that-
really like boys' bottoms.
I call that the straight cope. Straight and
That's,
cope.
yeah, that's cope sexual, is what that is.
Cope
Yeah.
sexual.
That's cope sexual.
That sounds like a lot of cope.
But you know, I'm gonna try to find an article for you guys to look at because somebody wrote an article of explaining exactly how if you have gay sex one time, you're fully gay and you can never go back.
Interesting.
Do you wanna
When the
read this
boy's
piece of
butt
shit?
is so good, you can't go back.
You want to read
Once
this?
you go crack, you never go back.
Once you go crack.
So, have you seen this video at all, Doug?
No, actually, I haven't even pulled up the
Oh.
watch together yet.
That's fine. You're probably gonna leave anyway. But this is
I will in a minute
video-
or so, but well, no, I was summoned over here. Hold on, let me just check out the message. People are sending me messages about
summoned
this
you?
stream.
Peer pressure
see.
dev.
I didn't summon.
Let's see. Here we go. Adam and Sitch want to talk to you, according to some fan of theirs named Gordo, over the once gay, always gay thing. They're discussing it right now. If it's gay to be attracted to Blair White, is it gay to be attracted to Blair White, fellas?
No, oh no, if you're attracted to Blair White, you know, that doesn't mean you're gay.
Yeah, I don't think
But
so.
there's still a dick there though. Like, she doesn't have the bottom surgery.
Well, that's fine, that's fine. So if you stick your dick in a glory hole and you think that it's a woman on the other side, but it turns out that it's actually a guy and you don't discover until after you have produced your ejaculate, shall we say, to keep it clean for YouTube.
Thank you. That's much cleaner.
And then you discover, much to your horror, that it was actually a male. That doesn't mean that you're gay now, right? It's it's your perception of what you are attracted to,
Yes.
not the technical truth.
Right. I agree with you. I don't think people would necessarily accept that as being a comparable analogy with Blair.
Here,
but I understand what you're getting at.
If you like big bara boys, big daddies, big hunky daddies, you're gayer than someone who only fucks very feminine twinks. But you're both gay. But one is
there's still some gay in there, right?
it's gay all around.
So like
but it's on a spectrum,
the most
as most people who are gay are on.
the most feminine possible male, fully transitioned, the whole 9 yards, looks perfect. Is that still at least a little bit gay?
Potentially, but not necessarily.
I would say
Okay.
not at all. If they like you said, they look perfect, like
Okay,
indistinguishable.
Indistinguishable from a
Hold on.
woman.
They still
or
have the dick though when
androgynous.
you when she take
Oh,
off
oh,
clothes.
oh,
Yeah, the dick is still there.
that definitely changes things.
Like if it's not a game changer for you, you can still be mostly straight, but yeah, there's that, there is that element of you did cross the line. It might have been just a foot or just a little toenail over the edge, but the edge was breached.
so to speak.
So
the
to
edge was
speak.
Well, I
So,
know
yeah,
they've
they're doing,
done
like-
they've done
Yeah.
research on this, and they say that gay men are not attracted to women, trans women with penises at all. And it was
Yeah.
specifically bisexual men or men that identified as straight that would never have sex with gay men were the only ones to be attracted to this. So that's pretty interesting. But there you go.
Okay, so I found the article.
Yeah.
But I want to show you. But you forget about the article though. The article is full of fucking autism. But I would like you to pull this graph up because it's fucking hilarious. Look at this autistic shit. I put it in the Discord.
Let's see. Intuitively straight, intuitively.
Pull it up. You gotta show the people what this shit is.
Okay. I didn't even
See?
understand how to read this graph. I don't even know
Okay,
what am I
so-
looking at here.
Okay, so basically, the bottom axis is degeneracy. So
Yeah.
from 0 to 10, like 0 is celibate, 10 is pure degenerate. All right?
Right.
And then the axis going up and down, that is the generative process, which is how reproductive it is. So you have, 0 is still celibate, and then 10 is pure generate rather than pure degenerate.
What is even the
right?
point? This chart is retarded. I don't even know. Like, this is
So-
stupid.
So what's going on here
Yeah.
is that like the more sex you have, the more degenerate and generate you become because you can also have kids by having sex.
Right.
But because gay sex never actually results in having kids, it is always just degenerate, and it never has a generative component. So
Okay.
this is the logic used for why once bi doesn't exist and once gay always gay.
I mean,
Once you accept these completely arbitrary and pointless criteria, yeah.
do people understand that when people say degenerate, they don't usually mean literally like degenerate versus generative. It's not usually what they mean.
I mean, I think actually if you were to get someone on the right who's like smart enough to actually dig into it, to grab Moldbug or someone who's like at least kind of intelligent on the right and have them actually explain their positions, you'll understand that they actually do mean, when they say degeneracy, they mean it in the opposite of like generacy. They do mean it that way.
Yeah,
where
but
it's
they mean in terms of like it's degenerating society in some way that they don't like. Not necessarily that it's not an action that creates children.
well, sure, but like to generate something is to like
Don't
create
say
something new,
sure. I mean,
and then
Saying
to
degenerate is to kill instead of generate or just not.
it's to break.
yeah.
Degenerate is to break something down.
Yes. Yeah. So you can have like generative actions that build society up, and then you have degenerative actions that tear society down.
Exactly. Right.
And that's kind of how they view it. And like having kids is one of those generative actions.
I mean, depends on the kid, right? I mean, if you're
What if you generated a gay person?
Yeah, or I'm saying like if your offspring is Stalin or Marx, I mean, you're not really just generating.
But he
society.
killed a lot of straight people.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
about that.
I mean, listen, I'm trying to explain it. I'm not saying that I believe in it.
Well, stop it, you bisexual.
Listen, I need to straddle the fence post in all possible things.
Oh, just sit on it?
Yep.
Of course, you need to
Nice.
straddle it.
That's a
Degenerate.
bad place to get a splinter, though.
Terrible.
How do you get that out? That splinter's going down with the ship.
Oof.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Well,
So no, yeah. Basically, people were
anything else you wanna
saying
talk about?
the way that everyone was sending me, there's maybe 3 or 4 people sending me DMs, and I was like, oh my god, is this like a continuation of
People just lie.
Yesterday's,
This is annoying. People
yesterday's
just
one
lie.
drop rule conversation on the Archcast.
We didn't
Is this
even bring
getting
up
brought
the
back
one drop rule at all.
Oh, okay.
I'm not even aware of any of this stuff. People just lie to you.
No,
No, it's
you're
like,
lying that there were 3 or 4 people in his DMs.
No. The
They're
people
almost
that are telling him are just
propagating.
exaggerate. Like we were just watching this video. It's about ContraPoints talking to someone about why LGBT conservatives exist at all. And they're kind of obviously looking at it from a very in the left-wing progressive echo chamber lens. And so
What's your argument?
No, look, Sitch, I told you earlier in DMs that nobody wanted to hear us talk about sex.
Yeah.
I think the fact that we've lost about 200 viewers is a testament to the fact that that is
No,
100%
those were just
true.
they were just straight.
well, no, to be fair, it's 10 o'clock at night. I mean, we just lose.
That's
We
true.
reach a
It
point
is
and
a
then
school
we lose.
night.
we lose viewers after a certain time period.
Okay.
So I think that's probably the issue.
Oh no, I think this conversation.
Everyone likes to hear us talk about.
Everyone
Daenerys.
loves sex sells. Haven't you heard?
Yeah.
Well,
especially gay sex.
like, I know that despite the obvious political differences, there is a fair amount of audience overlap between like Sargon and Arch and me and you guys. So I figured a bunch of them were here continuing yesterday because the conversation yesterday was kind of a shit show, and it went on for way too fucking long. But
with
it
that
was fun
guy.
anyway.
This is the quote one drop rule about if you do anything gay, you become gay.
The one cock rule.
Yeah. Where it's like
Yeah, but how does
bisexuality
that-
doesn't exist, and you're just if you have gay sex, then you are just gay, and that's it.
Yeah, but how does that explain? But that's stupid because there's obviously
Because it's
people-
stupid.
It's stupid.
Because there's obviously people that just are gay. They only want to have sex with the same sex, and there's people that want to have sex with both sexes. So how is that not a distinctive category?
Because they're retards.
Oh, okay. I mean,
that's just what it is.
sure.
That's what it is. So yeah, what is ContraPoints' argument here regarding the LGBT conservatives?
Either A, they're just doing it because they're just trying to make money, and they're trying to be like the niche LGBT conservative, or B, they're just trying to plead with conservatives to stop attacking gay people because look, they're normal too.
I mean, there might be some truth to both of those positions, but I don't think it's the mainstream gay conservative position.
I don't think, there's
just
any truth to the first position at all. I think there's
you think there's
some
any
truth to the
grifters
second
out there,
position.
really?
I don't think there's anyone who's gay who's like, listen, I'm gay. I want to make a bunch of money. I'm going to be a gay conservative. Like that just doesn't that doesn't compute to me. I don't,
Really?
Yes.
Because honestly, I think Dave Rubin fits the bill.
no shot. No way.
Yeah, man.
No.
Yeah, man. I remember. Hold on. I remember
No.
Blair White. Blair White went on his show, and then a little bit afterwards,
Guys.
What?
That was from when. Don't you remember when Blair White was on the show with Candace Owens?
Guys.
Don't
That's
what?
Dave
What?
Rubin.
Yeah,
Guys. That was Candace Owens and
Continue
Blair
what you were
White.
saying, Deb.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
That was like our
Dave-
third show, Sitch. Do you know that?
I did. Yeah.
Guys.
it's a long time ago.
You
Damn.
guys weren't listening to us on the third show? Look, we got to kick these guys. These aren't real fans.
They're not.
Listen, I knew of both of you back when you did your third show. I just didn't know that you were doing a podcast like episode 50.
There you go. Anyway, what were you saying?
Right.
About
So
Dave
Dave Rubin, Blair White, they did a show. Like she was a guest appearance on his show, and then shortly afterwards, Blair White comes out with this cryptic message where she's clearly not throwing Dave Rubin under the bus, but you can kind of tell it's about Dave Rubin. And she says, "Yeah, I'm meeting people who in the right wing, media ecosystem right now, and they're just saying shit like, yeah, I don't actually believe any of this stuff, right? It's like, you don't either, right?" It's like, oh, it's like her description of her time talking to some of these people was almost like Lauren Southern's in a sense, where they basically was like a bunch of backstabbers and a bunch of people who didn't really believe in any of the principles. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
There's a supercut of Dave Rubin's appearances on Joe Rogan and why Joe Rogan stopped having him on, because Joe Rogan basically outed him as not actually believing any of this stuff. So I do think like Dave Rubin, I think he's actually the conservative grifter. He's actually the one who doesn't really believe in any of these right-wing principles. He simply makes money off of them.
I don't agree.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
think what's going on with Dave Rubin, I think it's a different meme. The whole like, people are mean to me, so now I'm going to be the other side. I think that's more likely with Dave Rubin.
Are you talking about the Rageaholics tweet?
I don't recall. It's been a few months since I've looked into this at least.
Oh, okay. So he tweeted out recently that Dave Rubin was a big fraud. Who is Rageaholic guy?
That's a Razor Fist. Yeah.
Razor Fist, yeah. Razor Fist tweeted out that Blair White told Dave Rubin, or Dave Rubin told Blair White when she was on the show that he didn't buy into any of the conservative stuff. He was just basically doing it for a job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, Blair said that independently. I didn't know the Razor Fist tweeted about it too.
Blair evidently told Razor Fist, and Razor Fist tweeted this out recently. I mean, I saw it just like a few days ago.
Yeah,
And
I heard
thought,
this.
oh,
At least
that's interesting.
I heard this like at least a year ago. This was kind of bubbling under the surface.
So when did Dave Rubin split off from the Young Turks?
I don't
I
know.
mean, this goes
been years ago.
This goes with everything Jenk and Anna have said about Dave Rubin.
He left in 2015.
In 2015, he's like, I'm gonna go be the gay conservative because that's how I'm gonna make money. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Young Turk said that he asked for like $100,000 and they kind of laughed at him. They said like no one at the company makes $100,000 a year.
Right.
And he basically left the company, but he didn't really care about progressive politics. It was more about money for him. That's their narrative. So
That's a little bit different. That's just someone. But why would he decide he's going to go be conservative in 2015?
Well, I think it's because he's always been kind of a libertarian, and libertarians might have had a place within the Democrats, let's say 10 years ago, and they kind of don't now. So maybe
Sure,
just
but that's very
as the
different.
realignment happened, he kind of found himself more on the right. Maybe it's something like
it's
that.
so simple. He's on the Young Turks. The Young Turks always talk about Fox News. They're basically saying, look, Fox News always gets these people, the gay conservative, the crazy crystal lady to be the progressive. And Dave Rubin is thinking in his mind, he's like, well, that might be a good gig for me. He's like, how do I get that gig?
What if I could be the gay crystal lady? You have the right.
Yes, exactly. He's like, wait,
me.
I could do that. I could have my own show.
I'll tap that market.
And that's basically what he did.
Allegedly.
I'm very skeptical.
Well, that was the first possible reason. What was the second one? I forget what the second one was in that list.
Oh, it was protection. To try to be like, please don't attack us conservatives. We're normal too. And I think that is true-ish in terms of I think there are people that already have conservative moral foundations who then try to kind of justify it post hoc by trying to create this like, look, we're just normal too, because they are just normal. And they do think that like the non-quote normal queer people are giving them a bad name, which they are.
Do you think it's more the religious element or the conservative element?
I think it's a conservative element.
I feel like it's more of a religious element, right? The gay thing, right?
Anti-theist Rags just logged onto the stream.
No, I think that I think it's easier to like see yourself as a gay conservative than a gay religious person.
Rags, I want you to know that we love anti-theist Rags. We do. He's a great addition.
He's
I don't want you to think
I'm just not like it's really that edgy.
He's always turned on.
It makes
Is that a contentious thing? I don't feel like that's.
It is.
Thing
It is. Look, we have a lot of Christians in our audience because I usually see
They're
right
allowed.
there. Look at that.
It's fine. No, it's fine. I don't give a shit. It's just, I just feel like it's easier to hold the identity of a gay conservative than a gay Christian, right?
You're
what, I don't understand.
Maybe.
What's
No,
the
I'm not
disrespectful
kidding.
part? I'm confused.
No, not disrespectful.
No, what Adam was saying was I don't understand. What is disrespectful? Confused.
I didn't say anything.
Me? What I said?
You said no. You said he said something disrespectful.
Well, yeah. Well, we said we have a bunch of conservatives in our audience, and he said, "I'm sorry."
No, I
Like,
said
that's
that's fine. No,
something.
I said that's fine. I didn't say I'm sorry.
Well, you should be sorry.
Literally, you misheard me. I
Sid.
said that's fine. I didn't say I'm sorry. Where does this magic
I'm-
rewriting,
maybe-
this
look,
KGB
we're-
rewriting of history?
I may have misunderstood you, but it sounded
You
like
did.
when I said we have a bunch of Christians in our audience, it sounded like you said,
No.
"Oh,
it's-
I'm
no, I
sorry
said
to
it's-
hear that. Like
no,
Christians are not
totally
welcome."
fine. It's totally
Okay.
fine. It's totally coolio.
Look,
it's
we like to argue on the show, and the anti-theists are fun to argue with. So we like it when anti-theists come on the show.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds skeptical, but
Anyway.
look, ever since we stopped talking about sex, our view numbers have just skyrocketed.
Okay.
Let's talk about sex again. Let's get back to it.
Let's talk about sex. What about sex do you want to talk about?
Sitch, I think there's actually a different. It's like a related but different effect that's happening.
I want to
on
know
the
how
right.
many dicks Dev is sucked.
Oh, do you?
No, I don't. What were
No,
you gonna say?
Sid, why would you do that? Oh, look
Fear
at
not
that.
the man who has sucked 1,000 dicks. Fear the man who has sucked the same dick 1,000
Now
times.
we're
You know that's-
plunging.
There we go.
You know that
Nobody
scene from
wants
Clerks?
to hear this.
You know that scene from Clerks? I want to see. I want that. Yeah. Anyway. What were you gonna say,
So
Dev?
yeah. So I think actually, as the culture generally shifts more leftward over time, I think like conservatism is also kind of shifting a little bit more leftward too. And I think there's just now like a space for gay acceptance on the right. And there's going to be some very far right people who are not happy about that, but they're not exactly politically relevant anymore, you know? So I think they're actually, it's not really a contradiction to have like a gay conservative. It's just that the politics are changing.
Yeah, but if you're in the progressive bubble, you don't understand that. It looks like a contradiction.
Yeah,
so.
the progressives would never say that they're politically irrelevant.
Well,
the progressives believe that the homophobes are the what.
When our campaign in Desolus is done, the war chief will know that you aided us in our actions here, and that you helped make his will manifest. I thank you.
The fight goes well, adventurer. Perhaps the war chief will allow us to return to our homes before the seasons change if we continue to make such great strides in our battle against the demons and their underlings. Return to Keldron.
And let him know what we have done. I am sure he will reward you for your efforts here. His cause is important to him, and he will take pride in knowing that the war chief respects his concerns. The Shadowstalkers were unable to slay you, adventurer. Impressive. Most impressive. This scalp will do nicely for my spell. While you were away, I was able to gather some of the other reagents needed for the spell. I am almost ready. I only need a focus for the spell. Something to project an image of the Demon Lord and his whereabouts. An oracle crystal would do nicely. They are crafted by the Naga for their oracles to use. Northwest of here along the coast is a vast coral reef that the Naga have taken as their home when this close to the shore. You can find their oracles there. The Slitherblade are deadly and will not react kindly to your intrusions, so be careful and make haste. When you return, we shall see about finding this demon, Lord Azrathok.